Rahabat Moisar, and welcome to another live reading. We're reading The Mind's Eye, Patarak. A little bit about the author. Patarak the Way. Pa Munzal Nadar Amanube Reyak Patah Zeti. Zeti meaning that central piece. Shil Pa Hanutu, known to us as His Excellency Malachi Kabina York Okran. All right. So of the Amun priesthood, known to us as His Excellency. Baba wears many hats as he represents many things to us as a people. One of his many hats is transmitter, written right there on the bottom. All right, born on Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD in Ghana, Takoradi, Ghana, West Africa. Still alive today. Transmitter means to transmit a message. All right, that can happen from cell to cell. All right, and that can happen interpersonal. So interpersonal communication, and also his role is to spark the divinity within you. So now your body is turned on to transmit the messages. All right, so he's a transmitter, the spark. The revelations to the Nuwapians, Patarak the way, the mind's eye. Feel free to unmute at any time if you need question or something is stimulating. 1. Likum, my beloved Nuwapu Karadu, Nuwapian children of Wunuwap, about seeing of Tayaf, ghosts, Kahu, spirits, specters, and Etherians. 2. I, Panabab Yanun, have spoken much only to warn you of the dangers of those who use Jasad flesh and the Man blood to attract disembodied Kahu, spirits in their religions or rituals. 3. For you Nuwapu Nuwapians to know the best way to contact your relatives who link to your Salafu ancestors to Panadaru. 4. Many claim to see Kahu, spirits of dead. Many people claim to see disembodied beings. 6. Many people claim to see ghosts. 7. Many people claim to see Nasabu, relatives. 8. Many people claim to see religious figures. 9. Many people claim they see ancient Egyptians or Nataru. 10. Many people claim they see angelic beings. 11. Many people claim they see demons. 12. Many people claim they see extraterrestrials. 13. Most see all these according to what they fear or believe. All right. This has come up before about someone claiming that they saw spaceships and they can call the spaceships to them or whatever it is that they're claiming. And then people feel like that person is more spiritual. All right. That's no different than any other claims of whether you see extraterrestrial, whether you see an angelic being, whether you see ancient Egyptian or even a dead relative. All right. Baba is giving a warning that many different types of disembodied entities, all right, they attract, all right, to what people believe and feel so they can take on the image of what you believe in. So if I believe in Jesus Christ, I'm going to see Jesus Christ. If I believe in extraterrestrials, I might see a gray, all right? It's the same force or the same entity, all right? 14. If they belong to Azam religion, note it's always from their own faith what they experience. 15. Kasasu Christians always see what they accepted from the New Testament. 16. Satanists always see what they accepted from Satanism. 17. Yorubans and Santerians always see what they have accepted in Yoruba. 18. Muslims and their Sufi always see what they accepted from their Quran, Sunnah, Hadith, and sayings of Islamism. 19. Israelites, Hebrews, Jews will always see what they accepted in their Old Testament, Torah, or other Jewish records, the Talmudic traditions, and other books they believe in. 20. The same for Hindus and Buddhists and Zoroastrians and Baha'i and Rastafarians and Confucians, Native American shamans, and the same with all religions and religious beliefs. 21. And also with those that believe in extraterrestrials, they will claim to see what they have accepted in their belief system. 22. Many out of fear of death. That's why I love Wu Nuwa and the 9 reasons to be a Nuwapian and not them is because of the burden of confirmations. All right. And the burden of confirmations that Baba says, until you have confirmed something, it is considered a fiction to you. All right. So for example, there's a store 3 blocks over. All right. Say I'm not from this neighborhood. And somebody who lives where I am says there's a store 3 blocks over. That by definition would be a belief. They'll know what I believe. And until I know for a fact, that would be technically a fiction until it's confirmed. Whether I believe it or not, all right, I can say I believe it, but that's still a fiction because a fact you don't have to believe in. So I'm like, I believe what the sister told me that but it's still technically a fiction. All right. So 22, many out of fear of death. 23, many out of fear of the afterlife. 24, many out of cinemas, books, and things they experience in this world. All right. So a book that you read, your experience. All right. How you're starting to project certain realities. 25, some even have created in the mind's eye things to see, monsters and the likes. 26, you see, all you hear, all you experience or created in your mind's eye becomes real to you. 27, you store these images in your subconscious mind. 28, you are able to retrieve them at will, like an undeveloped film on file in your subconscious mind. You pull them up and process them as real. 29, when they could have only been a dream or an exaggeration in a dream state, or a fear or trauma or terror in an awoke state. 30, something or someone frightens you, and your mind's eye exaggerates it into what you think you saw or felt. All right, I could still remember being 3. I was exactly 3. I might not have even been 3. I was between 2 and 3. Let's just say 3. I was 3. And I remember my mom, she hung a coat over my door, and my door was open, so my room was dark, and there was a silhouette of the coat, but it was like a furry coat. And I kept seeing the coat do this. Like I kept seeing the coat breathe. It was like moving. And it was like hunching over and coming back up, hunching over, and it was like expanding and getting smaller, expanding and getting smaller. And that coat was alive to me. It really was. All right. Because I was in a state of fright, whatever it was. And I don't think I could communicate that yet. So maybe the next night I was in that same fright until like she decided to hang it somewhere else. But I remember just laying in my bed being terrified, and this coat was becoming so real to me. It was a real experience. All right. To me, it was a real thing that I went through. But it was like that coat was breathing. So let's go back. 30. Something or someone frightens you, and your mind's eye exaggerates it into what you think you saw or felt. 31. That is stored in the subconscious mind as a real event or thing. 32. It becomes real in your mind as time and space and reality, when in fact you created them in your mind's eye. 33. A person may see it or with the mind's inner eye. 34. A vision or a dream or a frightened cinema, then later sees a ghost, spirit, specter, or ET while you are awake with open eyes. 35. Your ears are clear for sound or touch, and you really think you see this thing. 36. You have processed your vision from your katal mind. 34. For you see, in order to see, you must use your makak brain as well as your ayanat eyes. 38. Light in the form of shape, form, and colors enter your ayanat eyes. 39. The light is reflected from the object that enters the cornea of the eye. 40. There it is refracted. Refracted means bent. And it goes through the baka, pupil, and through the kaza, iris, and lens of the ayan, eye. 41. So Baba's breaking down how your eye is structured, how everything, how you even perceive images. So you have to understand how your body's put together. All right. So Baba's taking the time to break that down. 41. The refraction causes the rays of light to cross within the eyes. 42. When the rays cross, the image of the objects are inverted, that means turned upside down, and projected off of the retina. That projected light or radiant energy is turned into chemical energy by the retina. 44. Therefore, the light or image is reversed upside down, projected to a screen inside of your head behind your eyes, connected to nerves. 45. This image sends a signal to the brain, and the brain compute what it is as a screen as. So it takes the image or the message of, all right, and then your brain computer computes it as. So of something to become as something, all right. 46. Then reverses it upright and projects it outside back at the image of what it is as it was when first perceived. 47. Yet you see it as you think of it and remember it in the way you feel about it. 48. If you fear a thing as a child, you may look at an unknown adult and you see as a giant before you. My eyes used to do that a lot as a child, because I'm getting so many childhood memories. All right, so now you see that adult as a giant before you. 49. You don't remember. That is recognized, so you become frightened. All right, that happened to me. I remember that there was it was a foreign culture to me at the time. It was a foreign culture to me, so it was scary because it was new. And when I think back, it was so cute and innocent. I was probably around 3 again. And there was these people, they were dancing salsa across the street. And I just remember, like, it was a foreign thing that they were doing. And it was foreign to me. So for some reason, I turned them into werewolves in my mind. And all I saw was a bunch of werewolves dancing. And I was like, oh, those people are strange. They're werewolves. And I thought they were going to eat me. I mean, knowing our culture now, maybe I did see something, but the reality is I know the psychology of what I was thinking. And it was like this, and I could see that it was one lady, 2 males. The lady, she was just dancing. She was just so happy. So it's like how your mind could project a reality. All right. So like even a child, that they see a stranger, now all of a sudden that the child's mind will exaggerate that stranger's features. All right. So it doesn't stop happening just because you're a child. All right. So you don't remember. That is recognized. So you become frightened. 50. The person may not mean you any harm, yet you created what you needed to protect your body. 51. Or an animal such as a dog may look like a monster to you if you don't recognize it and saw its teeth. All right. So you just turned around, you see something with big teeth. In your mind, you just saw some type of werewolf. All right. When you really just ran into into a dog. All right. 52. You then store this image in your subconscious mind in your mind's eye. He or it was a giant monster. 53. Once you go to the subconscious world of dreams, you recreate this monster as part man and part dog. And now you have a werewolf, and now it's chasing you with great big teeth. 54. Where did this come from? 55. It is stored in parts over time in your mind's eye, the subconscious world of dreams. 56. Yet Nuwapians remembering how the eye actually works. All right. What are Nuwapians? What Nuwapians are ontologists. Ontologists are scientists. The scientist takes time to break down how things are put together. All right. And a lot of times you'll be able to distinguish what is your own sensationalism from a real sensation. All right. Because both things are existing. I remember Bob was explaining uh, extraterrestrial invasion. This was in updates. And Bob was explaining how there's going to be fake extraterrestrial invasions happening side by side with real ones. And a lot of times you won't be able to tell the difference because of you have holograms. But that hologram will make it real to you because he said, for example, they're already doing that, how they had Tupac making a concert. So it's going to happen in real, and both of these entities will be side by side. And if you haven't taken the time to go behind the nine balls, Bobby explains, then you could get eaten up, so to speak. All right. I see you unmuted, Zaman and Netjere.
To it because that actually just occurred this week. That just happened. Where they actually showed, I don't know where the city was. I don't know if it was in New York. I don't know if it was Chicago, but it was an actual ship that was floating in the sky. And it was random people wearing like
Mm,
wigs, pink hair, baggy pants, and they was all running down the street recording. And it was like, look at it. And it was a ship flying through the sky, but it was just real slow, real close. And it looked like it was abducting somebody. But if you really pay attention, you could tell that it was a hologram. But a lot of people was actually afraid and recording this. They put it up
wow.
on TikTok. So
Wow.
they actually already got it in motion now, where they're
Yeah.
staging this fake alien invasion. And this is actually this is going to throw a lot of people off because it's just like what you said. They're going to do it side by side. So if you got a fake alien invasion being staged, and then you might have real reptilians jump out of nowhere, running down the street, like we was already taught. Say you ain't gonna think it's real until you see one of these reptilians down the street with someone's leg in his mouth.
Right. Right. So it
Yeah.
goes back to dismissing, because for me, my monkey in the tree experience was that the chants were spooky, so I don't got time to look into that. Like I want something real and tangible, you know. But the reality is that blind rejection is almost the same. It is the same as blind acceptance. It's good that I
Yes.
questioned it, but it's not good that I didn't take time to go and look into it. I mean, it happened when when it happened for me. But it's like I was very resistant because I wanted something more like, tangible. When in reality, if I had taken time to see what chants do and how the body's put together and the vibrations and the cells actually vibrate, then I would have realized it's not spooky at all because I would have gotten the facts and it would have empowered that. So now I have the power of the chance, not the beliefs of the chance, but the actual power. Um, So running from a fact or blind running to something out of faith, same thing, And you have mock extraterrestrials, and a lot of us want to feel so special. Have I seen ships with my own eyes? Yes, I have. All right. But because I stuck close to Baba, I don't know if those ships are real, number one. I don't know if it's a hologram. And I also don't know if that's the ships for me, you know? So I would need to want to feel special, like I'm one of the chosen people and I'm communicating with the ships. That's what they play on too, because they play on, Baba says that what these entities do, they exploit your own desires and they can use your desires. So you want to see Jesus Christ? I'm going to present Jesus Christ because this is the signal that she'll respond to. This one wants to see Inky. This one wants to see this Anunnaki. This one wants to see Nadaru from Egypt. So I'm just going to study you like how somebody had did with me before. I told this story before. Anybody who's been around knows that there was this brother. He really wanted to talk to me. He studied for 2 years just to talk, just to talk to me. And then he heard him saying that. But it's like what he did was he studied to try to put himself in a form. All right. I mean, I saw through it, but he tried to put himself in a form. This is a physical example of how that can happen on a spiritual. You have different entities that study. They study you and they can project, and also your own sensationalism, your own dirty can do that to you, you know. So it's like you have somebody that can come. They don't care nothing about the actual facts, pot to rocks. They just interested in being with you. So they would read these and like what you like, study what you study, and embody what matters to you. All right. That happens on a spiritual realm too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I
I
saw
wanted to
Zamal.
actually.
I'm sorry, Zamal. Go ahead. And then after Zamaltet Rimpat, right after Nanetjere.
Yeah, what I wanted to build on too is when you speak about holograms, and people actually look more into it, they have actually become so good at holograms that they can project something anywhere, and they can also cast a shadow too, so it can really throw you off. I mean, they've gotten so good with it that you wouldn't really know it's not a hologram unless you probably put on like infrared goggles or night vision goggles and see that it's actually not dual, or if you actually go up and touch it. So no, that's all I just wanted to add on to what you were saying.
So, what came to mind, like when you mentioned hologram, um, some of us know that Baba has put out one of the scrolls, the 8 scroll holographic brain. So it's like, and we know that with that, it's like, our existence, based on what he taught us, Ayo, is holographic. So how, like, so what's the distinction? Like, you know what I mean? Like
That's
that's what comes to mind. I hear that word hologram. When we talk about the mind's eye and a hologram and what he taught us in Ayo, and
hmm and that goes back to not skipping steps because
mm-hmm.
you have to acknowledge the rules and the laws of every dimension that you're in. So a lot of us want to skip. So for example, we're as dense as we'll ever be right now. So dense that we're even misusing our bodies. So we want to go to the spiritual realm. We first have to tune up. How's the body put together? All right. Then you go to the other realms. So there's rules and laws of each realm. And by taking the time to when you take time to study the rules and laws, and that's why Bible says until you confirm it, it's a fiction to you. You taking the time to study how's the mind, the eyes put together. How do you actually process thoughts? What's happening between cells? You'll know when something is off, and you'll be able to tell the difference. Same thing happened to me. I'll share another story of how I knew something was fake and how it was real. So I was very I remember it's so funny. I was laying down in my own place, the comfort of my own place, and then all of a sudden I started to like see people who wasn't here. There's nobody here. I started to see people in my place. Right. I have never been diagnosed with schizophrenia, by the way. So I started to see people, and I remember I wanted to ask one of the people a question. So I asked a person a question that I didn't really want to see those people anyway. But I asked one of the people a question because I didn't want them to be there. But I asked them a question and they just started moving their mouths and I could see through them a little bit. Like I saw through them. And then I couldn't hear them. So it's like they tried to talk after I engaged with them, but I couldn't hear them. And then I was like, okay, I'm seeing that I saw like creatures, and then I looked around, and then I was like, okay, how come my paintings are floating off the walls? I started to see that too. So it was when I realized that. I said, oh, somebody's haunting me. Like there's these entities. I realized that there weren't any entities. That was me, right? I said, oh, that's me. I realized it was me because of the paintings flowing, because I'm a little scientific minded. And I'm not saying you can't get visitors. I'm not saying that. It's just that when you've been given a litmus test, you have a litmus test that can save you from a lot of climbing up trees that you don't belong in, so to speak. So what ended up happening, how I knew that it was actually me, because when the painting started flowing, I said, okay, this is getting ridiculous now. And then I was like, thought to say, how am I put together? What's going on with me? What's my stress levels? Where's my mind? I asked myself these questions, started investigating, and I said, I need to drink some water. I need to do these things. I said, something is making me uh, distort the messages that I'm seeing. So I realized I was doing that to myself. So I had to take the responsibility of tuning myself back up. I need to drink water. All right. Um, and then everything, went back to where it is. Everything disappeared. So how do you know when something is real and when it's not? You'll start to realize when things are out of tune with that dimension, because there's laws to each dimension that you go into, and we are multidimensional beings. But you first have to be real with yourself. And a lot of us, we have experiences and it's so real to us and we want to be so special. So it's like, oh, I'm getting visits. And I'm not saying I never got a visit before, but you have to know the difference when you're doing that, when something's off, when it's your own ego wanting to feel, you know, or when you read something and you don't remember that you read it or you saw it somewhere and it's in your subconscious, and you go back into that mental reservoir and you can dig into that mental reservoir and pull it out as necessary. So what that was, I took that was still my ancestors, that was my genetics communicate with me, but the genetics had to communicate with me in a way that would catch my attention. So the genetics put it into a way to be like, are you drinking enough water? So it was a communication. It was a communication from my own DNA, but they put it in a way that I can catch the message. So it's a way that's real to me. So if my belief was maybe Virgin Mary or something like that, maybe I would have seen the Virgin Mary saying, go drink some water, my child. But it was like, maybe I wouldn't accept my ancestor who was like, certain things are probably shutting down. So it's like my health. And it was a call to, like not taking your health for granted, because you can get certain tumors as well. It can distort what you're seeing, certain chemicals, because all that is a hormone. It's hormones. So now you have another outside hormone. It offshoots it. So it's like to um learn to tune in with each dimension. All right. Don't skip the steps. That's my best advice from my own experience. Because what could have happened if I got carried away, what ended up would have happened if I didn't have my sciences with me. I would have been so scared, all right, then I would start to possibly create real portals, and and it's like, okay, I'm being haunted, and maybe other disembodied energies, real entities, may start to be like, okay, she's compromised, you know. So now it's time to jump through those compromise. So I'm just seeing how many ways it all starts with you. Starts with you. All right, Zama, I see you unmuted.
I know we gotta get back to the reading, but it was a lot of things you were saying. I was just, it is something you saying was funny, but it is so very true to be in tune with the dimension that you're in. Because if
Hmm.
you're in tune with it and you see how it works based on gravity and magnetism, even weight, you would actually you can really determine, like, is this thing actually real in what I'm seeing? I remember doing a football concert, or no, a football game. They had actually projected like a giant looking panther, and it had a shadow. And if you actually really didn't understand the laws of the dimension that you're within, you would have thought this thing was real, but it was confusing a lot of people. It was throwing them off a little bit. You could tell. But the way that it was first of all, it was a giant panther, and it was running and jumping on the sides of the stadium. But the thing looked real. It had a shadow and everything. However, when you think about it, the question would be, how much does that panther actually weigh? And if it's jumping on the side of the stadiums, how much weight can this size of this football stadium actually hold? And you start questioning things, you would start to see this ain't no real panther. But it was throwing people off because it looked so real. And that's how good they have gotten at it. And one of the things I've learned, because I'm a big researcher, I'm a big studier, and I don't just study and read articles and think that because I memorize, I'm smart. It never ends there. You really gotta question it, you know. And one of the things I learned is an area of your brain known as the superior colliculus that's located in the temporal lobe of your brain that connects to the occipital lobe of your brain, which connects to the central nervous system of your brain, where sight and information is processed through electrical impulses through the optic nerves and tract, returns into the optic vessel. It connects right to the hyaloid tract where all electromagnetic energy is being received through the eyes. That part of your brain known as the superior colliculus actually maps out everything that we see in three-dimensional imagery. And if people actually knew something as simple as that, they would know, like, how they can determine that something actually is well, that's one of the things, not just the whole thing, but if it's actually there physically, that it actually exists. You will see how your brain is actually picking up on the electromagnetic frequencies and the energy. You be like, okay, I can actually tell. Then you reason things out as well. The weight of it, the height of it. If that panther was so real and it was moving, why was there no? And it was moving fast across the stadium. Where's the gust of wind? You know, and you can
Yes,
see
right.
you can see like if people actually took time to question things, which has always been Baba's base, question any and everything, investigate everything, you will actually come to see that, okay, there's a lot of fake things going on around here. Like fake stages of, I've seen a cryptid, an extraterrestrial. Oh, there was a fairy in my room. I say, ain't no fairy. That's a pixel, like that's a pixel digital character from a video game. That thing ain't real. If people took more time to look into it, then you would see that you won't be tricked because we're dealing with master deceivers. And Baba made that very clear that this sixth etheric race, and I don't want to say Caucasian race because sixth etheric can manifest itself, in different forms. It's the masters of deception. That's why I said the Palladian beings are masters of deception. They know how to deceive you. But when you start asking those questions, you're breaking down those walls of trickery and fictional imagery and words.
Right. And even
Yes.
our, yeah, and also being real with ourselves, because even for myself, I'm like, okay, am I seeing into another dimension? And I can really say for a certainty I wasn't seeing into another dimension. I was seeing into my own dimensions of what
Mm,
is off within me. However, it's like, okay, let's just say you're going into another dimension and doesn't have a weight. Now, what is your weight then? You know, because if you're going to another dimension, you're able to, then there should be some truth that within yourself, because can we multidimensionally jump? But we don't even want to take responsibility for this dimension, because Bible explained like the mental dimension operates different from the physical dimension, because you can get to like the mental is it's a thought, fast as a thought, and physical it's a journey, point A to point B. So that's why you can get lost. Bible says not, you need certain guides take you to different places before you get lost, because some of us go to realms and then we lose our mind. We can't come back because we actually are lost in certain realms, because you're trying to apply the science of one realm to the other and it confuses you. You're lost there. And you're trying to get home like that monkey in a tree. That's where he got lost. He's trying to climb the tree to get to a place called heaven. He's not respecting he's not making it into that dimension that he's looking to. So it's like because he's not respecting natural nature, so to speak, and the many dimensions of natural nature. So it's that's why we have the actual facts. That's why we have no taboos. We have to explain it away. There's no shortcuts, because those shortcuts is where the traps are. And Bible has said about us as a people, he said the spookier that it is, we love it. We don't like factual things. We want to be spookified. And that's why the breath book was overlooked for so many years, for so many of us, because we want to sound deep and heavy. You can't tell me about, like, for example, you could tell me all about the inside of Inky's craft, something that you didn't see, but you can't tell me how your own lungs are put together. That's not a sound being. That's not a sound being. So it's like, I'm not saying that those crafts are not real, but you haven't even taken the time to see how you're put together. So when you realize how you're put together, nobody else can come into your realm and disrupt it. Not even your own, when you go sideways. So for me, because I'm being real with myself, I realized when I was deceiving my own self. And I said, that's not some outside being. That's me doing it to myself. How much water did I drink today? I mean, that hasn't happened to me before, but it's funny that I automatically knew to say that. How much motion have I been getting? Have I been sitting around too much? So how can I expect my cells to fire as the way it's intended? So now it's misfiring, and I want to take it as a spiritual experience. And it's like, no, it sounds so much deeper to be like I'm having some spiritual experience, even though technically, spiritual, it's all spiritual. But a lot of us just want to be so important. I had this encounter with this thing. This has happened to me. I get visitors. And it's like, no, you brother, go sit down, and sister, go sit down, drink some water. Go do some stretching. It's like that doesn't sound as deep as saying, oh yeah, I see things. Um, you know. So let's get back to reading and let somebody else have something to say. All right, so we'll get back
I'm,
to
I'm,
reading. Yes.
I'll say this, then we get back to our reading.
Hmm.
The lack of flow of oxygen to the brain can cause people to hallucinate.
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
That's also water. That's also breathing.
Hmm. And I knew that was me. Right. So, I mean, and it's funny because I knew that was me and I was still scared. So I slept with the light on. Then my head started hurting. And I said, man, my head hurts. I might have to just get haunted. And I had to cut off the light. And I'm like, my head is starting to hurt, too much light. So I turned the light off and I got my proper sleep, and I said, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I torturing myself? I had to come to um, terms with that. And I realized it was about me. Right. And that's not the most glamorous story, but it's a real story. A lot of us don't want to be real. We want that glamorous spiritual, we get exploited there. All right, so let's get back. So 48. If you fear a thing as a child, You may look at an unknown adult and you see a giant before you. 49. You don't remember that is recognized, so you become frightened. 50. The person may not mean you any harm, yet you created what you need to protect your body. 51. Or an animal such as a dog may look like a monster to you if you don't recognize it and saw its teeth. 52. You then store this image in your subconscious mind, in your mind's eye. He or it was a giant monster. 53. Once you go to the subconscious world of dreams, you recreated this monster as a part dog, part man. You have a werewolf. Now it is chasing you with great big teeth. 54. Where did this come from? 55. It was stored in parts over time in your mind's eye, the subconscious world of dreams. Yet Nuwapians remember how the eye actually works. I think I read all this part. Okay. 57. Once you receive an image of light, you process it, then project it back out of the eyes as an image. You can do this while awake and from your creation, from the file of undeveloped images in your own construction of them and how you want to see them. 59. Then project them outward. That is not even there. 60. Yet it is a projection of your subconscious file of images with emotions to become what you want to see, such as your Jesus, or an angel, or a relative, or a demon. 61. All created by you, projected from inside out, and you really think you see it. 67. This is religious spookism I speak of. 63. Most created by fear God, and you are going to be fear God, or you are going to be tortured in hell's fire forever once you die. 64. Inner or outer visions projected outward from dreams or experiences. 65. While awake or asleep. 66. This is what happens in most religious experiences. 67. Because they don't want facts or confirmations. They walk by faith, not sights. All right. So some other brother is telling you about their dream that you didn't have, that you can't confirm. You both didn't have that same dream. He had the dream, but his dream sounds, it sounds so deep. So you're going to take that as a message for y'all. All right. Why? Because you want anything to believe. Right. 68. They're willing to look yet not touch. 69. In visions or dreams or reality, you see spirits or specters. It can be real or not. Right? It might be a real message, it might not. 70. Most of this happening right inside your mind's eye, inside of you. It's your own experience. It's real to you. 73. Why most are alone when they see things or experience things. All right, I was alone. All right. 74. Even if it happens, even if it appears to be outside you. 75. That is because the brain can project images back out of the eyes that seem real because to the brain they are real, yet only you see them. All right. I realize a lot of people who get on drugs, a lot of times they start to see things. They're like, it's real, I see something. And it's real to them. I can't see what they're looking at. All right. 67. Now this can be done by the 27 spirits inside of you. I say 27 and not 30 because minus you and one less than 29. Now, if your two parents are still alive in this physical world, you minus them. So you have 30, you're one of the 30. So you have 30 influences on you, right? Including your own personality. If your parents are still alive, you also subtract them. All right, so that's 30 minus 1, minus another 1, minus another 1. If your parents are still alive. If your grandparents are still alive, you're minus another 1. Because Bible explains that when your relatives die in your bloodline, their influence becomes stronger. All right. So Now, this can be done by the 29 spirits. I say 27 and not 30 because minus you, one less than 29. 78. If your two parents are still alive in the physical world, then you minus two more from 30. So I minus 3 from 30. 27 spiritual beings that exist in your genes, your own relatives. All right. And it makes sense why you're 29, where they would get stronger, because right now I have my own body to express my own personality through. All right. So if I had a child, yes, my influence is going to be on that child. But once I leave this body, all right, those genetics or that genetic memory is still in that child. All right. But I no longer have my own body to express my personality. So I'm probably going to want to do it through my child. So it's going to be stronger once I leave this plane. All right. That influence. All right. So you become an even stronger influence when you die. All right. Or your dead relatives in your bloodline. All right. So 80, they can affect your thinking, your moods, your health, your actions, your dreams, your visions. All right. Your own relatives from your own bloodline. 81, spirit or spirits within at work. 82, evil or good beings once lived in flesh. All right. Now I know I probably did get some type of visit, but I still knew it was from me because I was neglecting myself, and I think that my ancestors, they were trying to catch my attention. So then I start seeing this, but then they was, no, that's gonna trigger me to be like, okay, don't take good health for granted, because good health is a gift from the Natharu. And when you have good health, you know the Natharu are with you. So you have to nurture that relationship. Don't take for granted that, oh, I'm good. It's an exercise. All right. They said love is an action, something you practice. All right. You practice good health. All right. So that's what my ancestors were trying to say to me, but I was very, like, I guess I just take for granted, like, I'm good. You think you're going to be good forever. And it's like, no, you have to, uh, sometimes children are young. They don't think they need to listen. And then their loved ones has to get there before they ruin themselves. And I'm just eating whatever I want, you know what I mean? Not being active. And then it's like, oh, wow, health is real, right? And it affects all you. It affects your mental health, your emotional health, all right? Physical health, it's all connected, all right? Um, so that's what my ancestors were trying to tell me. And they told me for a while, but I just took for granted that I don't need to do all that. That's what I really thought. So 82. Evil or good beings once lived in flesh. 83. Many wish to use your flesh to please their own emotions, loss. All right. So many of them want to use your flesh, good or bad, to do things. All right. 84. It can be deception or guidance. All right. My ancestors are with me. All right. Because that was my ancestor that was talking to me in the first place. And they were trying to encourage me to get up and do something productive. That's why they let that. That's why that I made this whole production for my benefit. This was a whole conspiracy for my benefit. All right, and I was very grateful. I felt really, like I was being set back, and I took the guidance. All right. So those ancestors, they want to be in good health. All right, in this body that we're sharing. So it can be a deception or guidance. 85. Yet they don't come from out of this dimension. 86. They are here. Many trapped here by their lust of this world. 87. So once they die, they are trapped here. They can't feel. It's a form of hell to them. 88. So they seek to use others' bodies. A lot of us struggle with this right here in life. I know this is bad for me. I know I shouldn't do this drug. It's bad for me, but I want to do it. All right. I just need to feel that high one more time. Now that person dies in that state, they didn't overcome that on this physical realm. and they can't feel that high that they were seeking when they were alive, and they're in your bloodline. So now you feel like you're inclining to go to a drug, all right? That's not conducive for you. That's one of your ancestors in your bloodline. That's why alcoholism and things run in people's families. So you have that addictive genetic, and it's looking to be turned on so it can satisfy itself through you, all right? And it just wants that one more hit. Next thing you know, y'all are both drug addicts, all right? So they seek to use others' bodies. 89. The easiest way is when a person is intoxicated, drunk, or strong emotions such as anger, jealousy, hating, and lusting. 90. These opens up this dimension to the underworld of the same dimension. All right. So it's the law of dimensions again. So now you drop low enough for that other entity that's waiting for the opportunity. You drop low enough for this other that dimension. You bring your dimension down just by being, I don't know, jealous or angry at somebody. There's another entity that vibrates on that same frequency. Now they've just created a way that they can affect you. But if you're not on that dimension, they can't affect that dimension. You have to be in the same similar dimension. That's why I couldn't hear that being that was talking, because it was the wrong dimension. So I could just see a mouth move, but I can't hear anything. What's that, Simone?
I just want to build on what it is you're saying, what you're
Mhm.
teaching. And that is so very true. There's so many dimensions out there that we can actually get lost in, and you don't know what's existing on it. It's like looking at the hair on your head, and they're so close to one another that a slight shift in a frequency, a keynote, the strings on the guitar could actually put you in that frequency and dimensional state of existence where you may not be there physically, there you are there energetically. And then there's beings that's also existing there as well. And they have made themselves a link to you and can actually make you also a gateway and a portal into coming into this realm and using your body as a vessel to actually do things that is outside of your character. And this is what Baba was teaching inside of 18 plus 18 plus 1 equals 37 genes of the mitochondrial DNA, and how a gateway is actually your DNA, and how sugar actually messes up your DNA. And then also goes into what freaks in a perfect creature, page 1 through 11, and how you actually have these crystals like fluids that's encasing your organs. And this crystal like fluid that's encasing your organs allows you to actually be bioreceptors to magnetic energy and frequencies. And they can be good and it can be bad. And so it's very important why we always say stay on your circle, stay on your center, and that's one of the reasons that we actually chant too, so that you don't get influenced by these outside forces. And you can tell that when someone thinks they're doing the right thing, they're actually doing things to disrupt. And they're not probably not even aware that they're doing it, but yet they are, because they've allowed the cells to vibrate at a certain state of a density to where now they've become a portal for walkings, what you also call intergalactical infiltrators, to actually come here and do whatever it is that their intentions to do. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be disruptive, it could just be throwing things off the subject, etc. I just wanted to give a little build on that.
Tower Hat. Baba's going to explain more in the next couple verses too, everything you said. So
Okay.
90. These emotions open up the dimensions to the underworld of the same dimension. 91. The 9 lower gates and people in those states have walk-ins and become possessed. 92. Do things in those states they would never have done in their conscious mind was not subdued, if their conscious mind was not subdued by intoxicants or a rush of emotions. All right. So in a fit of anger, somebody could destroy everything they just built, you know. And when they come off that high of anger, they're left with the consequences of things they wouldn't do when they're not angry. all right, because they actually got to walk in, all right, for energy that's on that same dimension or that same vibration in that dimension, and it was able to come in through their bodies. Another is outside persuasions, as in to join a group or like a uniform or a military, a police force, law enforcement, and you are persuaded to kill for them. All right. And that's the whole point of you wanting to belong. One of Baba's warnings to me, he wrote me, and I'm sharing this because a very universal warning, but he said to me specifically, he told me to be mindful of the company I keep. He said that. All right. Why? Because everybody's the energetic fields, it affects others. And then also for the being subconscious wanting to belong. So now you join this group and you're hating somebody who that person hates, and that other person has not even done anything to you. All right. And now you have this what is that word called? You have loyalty to doing the wrong thing by way of that group. All right. So that's another way you get walk-ins, because you guys end up sharing the same energetic field. All right. And now you have the same agenda that you wouldn't have had you not been part of that group. 94. So you can come under this effect, sleep or awake, and you can lose self-control by persuasion or possession. 95. It's all affecting your inner being by forces other than yourself. 96. This is why Wu Nuwap teaches you to know your own voice, your own tone from those of your ancestors, to prevent whispers and whispering to you, to your suggestions. All right. Somebody asked, well, how can you tell the difference? They say if it feels right. I'm gonna tell you right away, that's not how you go if it feels right. Because if you're already a crackhead, it'll feel right to do that crack, for example. If you're already, it's about knowing the difference between your voice, and your voice is not really going to want to destroy, you know. Your voice is going to play its part and its purpose, because you exist for a reason and a season. All right. So whenever you're deviating from what's best, you know that's a deviation from that inner voice. All right. Because sometimes it feels uncomfortable to do the right thing because it's uncomfortable to you personally. But that greater reasonability lets you consider the all. All right. So that's your true voice. Because sometimes it feels more comfortable. Like, I'm in the mood today to eat. I really do want to eat. But for me, holding true to the culture and what I know is going to help me long term, I'm going to resist these suggestions to go eat something today. All right. I'm just going to drink my tea. I'm not hungry, but I just want to eat. But I just like the sensation. I want to experience that right now. So who wants to experience that? All right. And then that's for me to realize, okay, who wants to experience that? And it's like, okay, whatever ancestor that is, it's like, we're going to do this. All right. This is going to be best for all of us in the long term. And I can put that voice aside. But it would be very comfortable to eat. It would feel very satisfactory. So that's my warning against when people say it feels good. It doesn't always feel good. All right. So 96. This is why Wunuwap teaches you to know your own voice, your own tone from those of your ancestors, to prevent whispers from whispering to you suggestions. 97. Things you would never have done, you did, because of these emotions of suggestions from the 27 spirits inside or evil people outside who use others to do their evils, like governments. All right. And that's why it's about us all making that connection, which is why this room was started. This room was started to prevent this, so that each person can get sparked in your own divinity. All right. It's great that you see the divinity in me, but also take time to develop your own divinity. All right. So you're not at the mercy of somebody else. all right, and how they interpret things, all right, like the government, that can sometimes go against nature and you don't even realize because you're part of that group. So 98, they use pleasures such as pornography. 99, the effect it has in transforming one's mind and the effect their physical body to react. 100, all right, pornography, if you just look at what pornography does to you chemically, you might refrain from watching it. Why? That's why people graduate to more and more extreme versions of pornography, because what ends up happening is like a drug. When you take that drug, initially you'll get a certain high. You don't get the same high again when you go back and watch that same porn. So now you're looking for something a little bit more deviant. All right. You start looking and you start even going to unnatural things that you may not even be attracted to because you're just looking to get that chemical reaction. All right. So how it's affecting the mind, your chemical process, and the very signals in your brain. You start to transform, all right, outside of natural nature, because you'll end up needing a stronger stimulant to get you to somewhere that naturally you probably wouldn't even go, or you need, you'll relate different to life. You relate different to yourself. So that's just one example. All right. So 100. This same thing happens in persuasion by inside and outside visions, such as how a commercial makes you want to spend money you don't have by watching others who seem to be having fun and pleasures, and it makes you want the same. All right, so they exploit your. If only I buy that handbag, I'll be so much happier than I am right now. If I buy that lipstick, even though I don't need it or I can't afford it, I would look better, I think. So that would make me feel happier. Then you realize you buy that lipstick, it's never enough. You need to go buy something else, things you can't afford. It's that seduction, all right, by exploiting your nature. You have to take control of your own nature first. 101. So you go to them and where they gather for this. 102. It may not be safe or healthy, yet you begin to betake in the Hajam dimension or Tapal world of whatever. All right. So you start with, okay, it seems reasonable. I'm going to do this thing. It seems reasonable. Next thing you know, that's the gateway. And it started off very reasonable. You went off on the deep end. All right. It affects your soul and your katat's body. 104, you see an attractive person, they attracted you. And you don't see them inside, only the outside attracted you into their world. All right. Whether it was their charisma, their looks, all right, you attracted to that lust of luster, all right. They look good, so you assume they're a good person, or whatever the case is, or they told you a joke, they made you laugh or something, all right. And you don't take time to see the inside. You don't see the inside them. 105, this can be a so-called friend, and they say, let's go there. 106, let's try this. Here, take this, drink this, smoke this. You are affected for life by that one act. All right. A lot of the times that voice seemed real pleasant. All right. It was somebody, a lot of people who got into drugs, when they tell you their stories, not all of them, but a lot, it's very common. It'll be somebody that they looked up to, somebody who they were dating, somebody who they felt nice around. And the person said, hey, let's try this drug. Now, if somebody, if it was from an image that they didn't like, of course they wouldn't do it, but it was from a soothing voice that made it seem okay, all right, in the form of a friend. So they say, here, take this, smoke this, a girl you really like, or whoever it is. And you're trying things, and now you just open the door that you wouldn't have walked through without that suggestion. All right, so now you are affected for life by that one act. 108. So it happens from both inside you and outside you. All right. So all your 29 isn't good. All your 29 isn't necessarily good. Or let's not say that they're bad either, but let's just say they're not always appropriate. It's like, okay, you know what? I want to go eat something. Is that a bad suggestion? It's not, but it's not appropriate. I want to fast these 3 days. All right. So that's just an example. And it's like, but that other one wants to be soothed in its bodily functions. At this time, it's just not something I want to do right now. So it's not what I want to do, but that's whatever that suggestion is saying, go see what snack you got. It's the same suggestion. All right. How that can happen from inside your own genes or from your outside friends or influences or not friends. All right. So 109, you're good. Nasabu relatives and Salafu ancestors only wish to help you. 110. That is the voice that says, don't go. Don't do this and don't do that. Stay away from him or her. All right, that your intuition. I know something's off. That yeah, that's your also your helpful ancestor. Some are helping you, some are not, right? And they're trying to tell you. 113. Then physical desires takes over your divine being and you submit to your pleasure. All right. So you know that this person isn't good for you, but they're fun to be around. Or you're lonely. All right. You call up somebody who you like, okay, I get funny feelings, but you know what? They fun. I get into all the places for free when I call them. Now you done got yourself into some troubles. Why? Because you attracted to your desire is stronger than your divinity. All right. So you let your desires overtake you. All right. 114. Or you are stronger willed and you say, no, I pass, not me. All right. So that's a test of your willpower. That person's a lot of fun to hang around. It'd be a lot of fun for me to go in my fridge and see what snacks I got. It'd be a lot of fun to be like, okay, I get to finally, younger people especially, I get to finally be accepted by these cool people. I don't drink, but they offered me a drink. Beyonce gave me a drink. Beyonce gives me a drink, I'm a drink, you know, whatever the case is. I'm using it as an example, not to say, but I'm using it as an example. So it's like you have to have a strong will and you'll have to say no sometimes to somebody that you may like. All right. Because that's not the divinity. All right. That's not, it's not good for you. All right. So 115, that is our inner powers at work. All right. When we have a strong will, we say no. That's our inner powers. 116, yet it all originates right here or within you. 117, some people look outside only, and at other worlds they read about or made up, taught by the very evil ones who teach all lies by their religions. All right. And that's our warning when it comes to our patarak, our actual facts. Because you can take this and run with the little piece. You don't even have all the facts. You done turned our sacred scrolls into a whole new religion. All right. And this is the doctrine of confirmation. It's not the doctrine of extraterrestrials, although extraterrestrials can be confirmed, for example. It's not the doctrine of you have to take time to confirm, and you'll end up in the realms where you're supposed to be by natural nature. Religions take you to dimensions that you're not supposed to be in at the specific times. That it takes you out of the realm. So that guy, monkey in the tree, in the story, the monkey in the tree, the monkey, he wanted to go to these high dimensions, and he didn't have the patience to let nature run its course, and however that looks. So he wants to go in that other dimension when his body is not even suited for that dimension. So what happens? He's too dense. He falls right back to earth. And I'm not saying you can't ascend, but there's laws in the ascension. And Bible says if you want to do spiritual, Bible has that as a warning in the breath book. How Bible teaches us how to etherical projection. You could do that with the breath. But he also warns you to not do it so much to where you resent your body, because what ends up happening is that your body was given to you for a reason, and that's part of your that's part of you having it. So if you want to skip that, you trying to be so spiritual, you might have to reincarnate and come right back, or you might even drop further than you are already. All right. So so when we're ascending, all right, and you're too dense, you'll fall right back. So it all starts with us. All right. And how anything could be corrupted. All right, anything could be corrupted. So 117, some people look outside only, or at other worlds they read about or made up, taught by the evil ones who teach all lies by their religions. 118, there is no power greater than you, for all things move about you because you are the center of your own universe and because of your connection to the sun. And if you no longer existed on this planet, all the planets would be pulled into the sun and cause a star holocaust due to the balancement you bring to the solar system. Now we have these spookified existence. Now existence, including your own, can't be used against you. Why? Let me show you why in this picture. I'm a visual person. And this is why. Because of powers, all right? And you're always in sync with your place, time, and purpose. And now, even though you don't like that brother or sister, you realize in your story, he's also in sync with his place, time in your story, even your very likes and dislikes. Your attractions and your repulsions, it's all what keeps everything moving. All right. That's the balancement. So it brings a greater grace. And now nature can't be inverted and used against you once you comprehend fully what this fact really means. 119, all else is unrealistic, unfounded, and that is unreasonable, a result of ignorance and religious superstitions, or superstitions found in their Bible and Qurans on spookism. All right. So if that brother had his experience and now you look at him as, and you're not taking the time, because Babas are living and breathing example, flesh and blood like us, sent to us for us by us. All right. Baba says, I haven't asked you to do anything I haven't done. That's what he says. I haven't asked you to do anything I haven't done. All right. So it's like Baba's there to show us how it was done. And this is where your successor is. It's not that other brother or sister. Your successor is Pawut, and it starts with you. Because what did Baba say? He said, if you look at the symbol from Pawut, right, Pa to the letter Ta, you will notice an inwardness. All right. And notice the antenna. So you tune it. It's so much that you could break this in visually. You tune in. But if you're out of tune, your mind's eye is shifted. You're going to be projecting, your pictures on the wall are going to be floating. You're going to be seeing all types of things, and you're going to be haunting yourself, for example. So you have to start with your own mind's eye. Yes, Zamal.
No, excuse me. I didn't mean to unmute. I was laughing at what you said about people's, images floating all over the place. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah. All right. So how you take a fact and you go right back into that realm. Baba's saving you from the burning building. You're going right back into it because of the superstitions. Your left hand is bad. Listen, I got a left hand that's on my body. I have a right hand too. And I'm not going to try to fly with one wing because I'm not going to get anywhere. All right. I'm not going to skip ahead of the lessons. All right. Now, can you be trapped by a dimension? Yes, I gotta eat. Some people they just want to eat too much. You don't want to eat at all because I'm so spiritual. There's a time and place, and it's like you had to be able to use all parts of your body as needed when it's needed, and be able to put down things as it's no longer needed. That's a reasonable thing to do. What's that, Zamal?
And yes, now I have something to say. But yes, and in building on what it is that you're saying too, people can get trapped by dimensions as well. And one way is you have not made that link with your ancestors, by being a good person. That's one way to actually get up out this realm. You can get trapped out dimensions. That's in the procession change, as well as in the long lost records of time, where Baba is actually showing the different 9 gates that you have to actually go through in order to get out of here. And there's even extraterrestrials that they come here too, and they may pass away or die, but they're stuck on the laws of this plane of existence, and they get stuck in between those dimensions. Some of them are just straight demons, and they're forever just trapped. And so we're given like it's almost like we're given like the easy ticket on how to make it out of here. And we should be real grateful for these books, like beyond grateful. We're given a cheat sheet. It's like a very easy cheat sheet
Hmm.
on what to do to prepare yourself, to think, to eat, to breathe, on actually ascending past this realm. And it's not about like being a perfect being with no flaws, but it's about being honest, sincere, and just giving it your all and just giving it your best.
So,
Yeah.
yes. And what's our highest priority? Who wants to tell us as Nuapian Sabians? What's our highest priority?
Yeah, I wanted to say from earlier what the brother was talking about with the holograms. Yeah, they absolutely are good. I remember seeing a plane about 100 feet away from me, hovering over residential houses. I'm talking like a commercial plane. It had a shadow that it was casting and everything. It looked like it was just hovering. It was frozen, not too far from me. It was so close, like I could read the side of the plane. And it was a spirit plane, and there was a couple of planes that was hovering, like if you look, throughout the sky. But yeah, these holograms are pretty good. They're really good. And I knew it was a hologram because of the distance. It just did not make sense. Number one, they don't hover, these type of planes. And the proximity it was to the houses. Like it would have blew the shingles off if it was a real plane. It was so close. So I just wanted to add that.
So, so if somebody could mute and just say, if you remember, what is our highest priority? It was in the Bridge to Salvation, a few scrolls. So our highest priority is Ashuk. Because in reality, Ashuk allows all these corrections. That's where a lot of the protections come. Because a lot of times we're going to miscalculate, at times. We're coming from a very dense state after being lied to for all this time. And what has been a big protector for me is my own integrity. Your integrity. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it right every time, but my integrity is going to allow me to be corrected. My integrity is going to allow me to know I'm not trying to catch anyone. I'm not trying to do anything harmful to anyone. Because you ever heard what you seek is seeking you? So that's a lot of times when we're on that right dimension for these other beings to come because of our anger, our jealousy, or whatever the case is, or our own bad intentions. All right, you get caught up. Sometimes you're on the wrong path. You're with the wrong crowd, and you're not there for the wrong reasons per se. And you get this gut feeling saying, I'm not supposed to be here. All right. But if you're on a bad intention, you're not going to get that gut feeling. I'm not supposed to be here. So you'll get caught up. So it's like, that's what it is. Yeah. Our highest priority is what allows us that gateway, because Baba says with the 3 types of love, what key will you be holding? And it's that
Mm.
ashuk. The ashuk opens the realm for all these various dimensions. And without it, we're not going anywhere. No matter how brilliant, how much we memorized, how gifted we are in our genetics. Um, so that is not only is a protection, it's also your pass key through the various states, the various dimensions. And it was even, I would say it's even our shook that allowed me not to get trapped in this hole I was creating for myself when I saw the paintings floating. Because then I was just like, okay, my desire to want to be a good person, it allowed me to see the opportunities to improve. So that became a gateway rather than a trap for me. So that's an example. All right. The next I see you're unmuted, and then we're going to continue reading.
No, excuse me. Okay.
Oh, okay. So all else is unrealistic, unfounded, and that is unreasonable. I love that word, unreasonable. That could help us a lot. Is it reasonable to be fighting somebody who's not even fighting you? Is that a reasonable thing? Is saying you're a warrior? No, you're a bully. So all else is unrealistic, unfounded, and is unreasonable. A result of ignorance and religious superstition, or superstition, Bible calls it too, superstition and superstition, found in their Bibles and Qurans on spookism, faith, beliefs, fictions, myths, illusions, lies of the liars, Celtic Wiccans, of Druids, and their undercover witchcrafts and sorcery. 121. The result of their religions is a feeling of emptiness, a lack of answers that pervades the brain, and the mind's eye makes you a believer. One 22. This does and can affect what you think, you feel, and see. All right. I'm even thinking about that. I had to take a pause when I heard that, because the reality is after you engage in that religion, those religious feelings, you end up with what? Emptiness, lack of answers. All right. Now you got an unrestful spirit. All right. Now you feel unrestful. All right. And that is a lot of the reason why we start attacking each other, and because you just want to feel like what ends up happening, you start doing busybody work. You want to feel like you're doing something, you're making a difference. And I could see why that monkey climbed that tree, because he was feeling that emptiness. So he said, I need to get something done. Without the facts, he starts to climb the tree. Say, you know what? I figured out a short way. And the reality is, you have to take your time. All right. And then when you realize that you have our sacred trio, you call them Hu, Sia, and Hika. So Hu is, let me see, let me break it down. Let me go to the chants. Because I'm seeing them. And when you acknowledge them, it helps. And how does that mean? So Hu, you have the force of creative will. All right.
Okay.
Then you have Sia, that's your perceptive mind. All right, your mind's eye. And then you have Hika, supernatural strength. Sometimes you see it as magic. Just take magic away and put the word process, because things seem like magic because it's like, wow, this happened. I don't see how it happened, but it's like, wow, this whole thing developed. It's a whole process. All right. So now you have a clear mind. All right. You have an idea of what you want. You have a clear mind and then you have the process in which to go about it. All right. So now you can manifest things. All right. You can manifest realities, and that's why we call out to them in our prayer chant one, because we're activating that within ourselves. But what ends up happening is that religion, it leaves you feeling empty, because that clearness of mind, it pervades your mind. You don't understand the process. You just have to rely on fear, all right, or belief. And it's like now when I'm watering my flower, all right, I realize that I am doing, all right. It's not just busy work. When I'm chanting, I am doing something because I'm hoping my vibrations. It's a whole process. When I'm going and I'm watering that plant right behind me, that green one, it's like it's not a waste of time for me to water that plant because I'm understanding the process of nature. All right. And it gives me a sense of fulfillment. And I start to feel less restless. And then I start to realize I am where I need to be. And then I start to see, well, this is where I want to go. And then I keep doing the movements that takes me there. All right. That's because Hu, Sia, and Hika is active in my life. And it cannot be active in your life when you are relying on religious spookism. All that will evade you because you feel the support and you feel the comfort that nature is running this process. When you don't know how nature is put together, it's going to make you feel empty. All right. And then it's going to make you kind of sometimes even sabotage the very things you think you're working on. All right. So let me read that again. The results. So talking about faith, fictions, beliefs, illusions, lies, Celtic Wiccan of Druids and their undercover witchcrafts and sorcery. The result of their religions is a feeling of emptiness, a lack of answers that pervades the mind, and the mind's eye makes you a believer. 122. This does and can affect what you think and see. It comes from your need to know before you die, to know why and how and where. That constitutes your inner need to really understand existence now and forever. And this affects proper care of your mental state of kata, mind, and affects your physical health. All right, it's all connected. 126, how you see the world from your eyes to your mind and memory. 127, so the kind of imaginary fictions and fears taught to you affects your whole life. I remember reading like psychology book, and it was talking about a lot of anger is really stemming from fear, because what ends up happening a lot of the times it's rooted in fear. But anger makes you feel empowered. It becomes like a way that you protect yourself. And then it can make you a very angry person. But it's really going back to unresolved fears. 126. When you accept a God concept, you don't stop to question the logic of it. Is it logical that a God or deity asks his creation to kill for him? Ask his creation to obey only him? Ask his creation to steal from others for him? Ask his creations to offer things to him or them. 132. A God who claims to have all power over all things and persons and animals, yet he will judge. 133. Why would he have to judge what he already knows? 134. Why let his creation go bad and do evil and hate and fight and war, lie and steal if he controls all things? That he can change sins to good. 135. The wild evil to wild good. Mudwawu devils to good angels in a blink of an eye. Why doesn't he or why don't they? 136. Where is your logic in this matter as you fight over where is your logic in this matter as you fight over which race was Jesus, Yahshua, Isa? All right, you're fighting over the race of somebody who isn't even proven to exist. 137. First find out, did their form of Jesus ever exist or Abraham? 138. You don't even know if they really existed. 139. Their bones have not been found to date. 140. In fact, every year near the Christmas holiday, there is a new discovery about Jesus. 141. The latest in the discovery of the Coptic fragment that Jesus says, my wife. 142. However, who is that person really? 143. Who is this Jesus? Jesus is not Coptic or Coptic, is not a Coptic name. 144. You see, they change and they keep the character and create a new story around the character in an attempt to give him authenticity. So pretty much Bob is saying what they're really doing is they just update their lies. And if you've been friends with a liar for any period of time, you'll notice that in time the lie, what is it? It evolves. It evolves. That lie just keeps evolving. And it's like you'll realize that there's always more to it added onto, if you've ever been friends with a pathological liar. All right. And a lot of the times it seemed, most lies I find, they do seem like realistic enough, because most lies are based in some form of reality. But then from that form of reality, it spins off into something else. So they use some type of fact to validate their lie. All right. So they might talk about a story. Yeah, I was at this store, such and such. And then they validate to make it seem more real because they've touched a place that really exists, or a story that really happened. So like there was a concert that happened, a very famous concert. They'll start telling a story based on outside that concert. All right. Or, whatever the case is. So they authenticate, So 144, you see they change. They keep the character and create a new story around the character in an attempt to give him authenticity. 145, you claim them as to which race they are. Is this logical when you have not proven Jesus ever existed? That's why Bible says give them back everything. All right. You don't need to reinvent. It's a fiction until you've confirmed it. You haven't been able to confirm it. Time for us to get into the actual facts. You know what I can confirm? I can confirm my breath. So I can confirm? I could confirm the various cells that make me, the various components. And as that, you start to confirm more facts. All right. You'll get there eventually. All right. You'll get to those higher realms. You'll get there eventually. But you have to take time to confirm those facts. All right. I'm not saying that there is no ascension outside this plane. I'm not saying that. But you have to confirm those facts. All right. So 146. You being persuaded to fight a fruitless fight of their fictions and myths, legends, and lies. 147. The same with all their other lies in their Bibles and Qurans, such as monsters, demons, devils, dragons, fish, people, unicorn, half goat, half man, giant, and the list goes on from their God. 148. You choose to avoid Wu Nuwak, which is fact, for fictions. Fate, you replace with faith, foolishness, nonsense, in place of truth. All right? So you don't have patience to confirm the facts. You're going to say, oh, I'm just not going to do it because that brother, he sounds so convincing. He cried for Baba. He did this. So that convinced me. Without the facts, that's enough. It's been so much games played on this planet, sensationalizing your own emotions and using it against you. All right? And the whole fact of the matter is that it's your burden to confirm these things. All right? That's your burden even for yourself. All right? Because your own sensationalism of wanting to be whatever it is. All right? Important, you want to be important. So you see a spaceship. If you talk to enough of us, we saw it, but what did we really see? I don't know until I know. All right? And I'm still confirming that. All right, so 149. Wunuwap is here to eliminate the lies of the liars. 150. It's the nonsense of religions of Celtic Salalu races that is another imaginary fallacy in the minds of Nagaru Salil Negroid race, African people. You see, open people such as Nagaru Negroids or trusting people seem to love and prefer lies, mythologies, fiction, spookism, and mystery over reality and confirmations, over truth, things they can touch. All right. So it's like people could tell you all about the inside of spaceships that they never been on. They can't tell you how their own bodies are put together. All right. That's a problem. Because as we're learning, you're going to have to know how your body's put together and how you're put together to even be able to know when you get onto these ships. For example, Bible talked about that. There's so many different beings that came here. Some mixed in with us that are positive, some are negative. There's all types of beings. Some from inside this very planet, some from outside the planet. All right. And I remember Bob was saying, you see a ship, you don't just get on it because those might be beings that came for their food. All right. But it's like you're looking for some divinity to come outside yourself. You just got eaten by these reptilian extraterrestrials because that divinity has to start within yourself. So you can tune in to the divinity and all else. That divinity, notice the what is it called? What do you call this? What do you call those things? Antenna. Yeah. So notice that antenna. All right. And you've taken time to tune yourself up. This way, whenever you come in contact with anything from the outside, all right, you're coming from a tuned place. So you know when you come across something that's out of tune, all right, and you won't be at the mercy of somebody convincing you of things. Because Bible said that the lies and truth, they're all mixed together. All right. So Wunuwap is here to eliminate the lies of the liars. All right. 151. You see people such as Nagaru, trusting people, seem to love and prefer lies, mythologies, fiction, spookism, and mystery over reality and confirmations, over truth and things they cannot touch. Hasmuni. They prefer spookism over confirmations, over truth, over things that they can actually touch. All right. So they want the things that they can't touch, and they're going to bypass that school and go right into the school of things that they haven't even touched yet. All right. 152. They seem to love myths, such as what the Bible and Quranic religions teach, and many others, be they in the books, cinemas, and TVs, or religions. All right. So the deeper it sounds, the more we love it, Bible says. The deeper it sounds, whether that's true or not, whether it's a true story or not, people feel more fascinated, all right, by what they see in the books, the cinemas, and TVs, and religions, rather than tangible. 153. The spookier, the better. The more supernatural, the more mysterious, the more mystical, the more mystified, the more Nagaru Negroids seem to attract to it, over reality and things that reason out. 154. All right. All of a sudden, I'm hearing a story about somebody had told me. I'm not going to repeat it because it's going to make it seem like I'm picking on that person. But it was a dream that the person had. Right? I'm not going to say the details of the dream. And then they start crying. So it's like, yeah, that person's devoted. And I'm like, that's not something that's not real to me. I could take your word for it, though. You know, I didn't dream that dream with you. And your tears, that was great, you know. But it's like we seem to like the sensationalism, all right, rather than the reality or things that can reason out. All right. So 154. Myths and the mythical religions have a way of fascinating the God Negroes. That's how they keep getting spellbound year after year as the master deceiver comes up with more tricks and cinemas. All right. If you've ever been friends with a liar, when their lies don't work, they become more creative in their lies. All right. They will tell a lie that appeals to you. All right. They will tell a lie based on what you like, what you don't like. All right, to manipulate you. So they adjust the lie depending on who they're talking to. All right. And that's just the way it is when it comes to a deceiver. So they upgrade their lies. So that's how they keep spellbound year after year as the master deceiver comes up with more tricks and cinemas. 156. Now horror films are viewed in three-dimensional TV, surround sound, deceptions of the devil to work on your mind, to feed off of your fears. All right. They even have to tantalize your sensationalism again. So what do? They blast these 3D TVs, projectors. It even goes further than this with surround sound, where it sounds like somebody just came and whispered in your ear, but it's from that surround sound. It goes further than that. You'll feel the air because then they'll blast something where it shows the air. They'll splash water on you, you know. They'll have a fire scene. They'll turn up the heat for a second. All right. That's all sensationalism to appeal to your senses. All right. So that they can alter your sensibility. So the key word is senses, sensationalism. All right. So they appeal to your emotions. 157. They also need you to raise your vibration levels for them to pass on to different dimensions, using you to reach. Here they cannot because of their frequency is different from ours. All right. So they bring you down to their frequency first. Then they can affect you. So they affect you and then they infect you. So you drop your whatever, however you vibrate, you drop that down. All right. Now you're in their realm, their territory. Now you have their sensibility. So they have appealed to your senses. You drop down your, what is it called? Your psychic self-defense. And now you're in their sensibility. So now you have what is it called? A collective psychosis. Now the whole group has that same psychosis. All right. So 158. They constantly pump their image, their voice, their tones to cause you to shift. So you will not make the dimensional shift as they will not, being they have downgraded their DNA by mixing in with animals. All right. If I can't have it, you can't. Do what I say. Stick to me. Follow me. All right. I don't gotta do that. All I could do is tell you process. I can't have those genetic explosions for you. All right. And we can't lie to ourselves. All right. So just spending time with me and getting to know me, that's not enough. Be like, oh, she seems like she knows what she's talking about. Make sure you know what you're talking about too. All right. Make sure you know what you're doing. You take the time to process this. All right. Just because I know something doesn't mean that you know it, but you take time to know it. And like, oh, now it became a confirmed fact. It's not It's not based in spookism. 159. Yet you Nuwapians are awoke. Now you see the games being played on the minds of your own race. Yet it's very hard to wake up the dead. You will only sleep, and most of them are dead. All right? Sleep and death, they're sisters. You might have looked the same. You can't really wake up the dead, or it's very hard, but you can wake the sleeping. Because that's what these genetics, this is what this is meant to do to our genetics. It's supposed to wake up your genetics because these genetics are already in you. These are membrane tools. But we've been shut off from our own genetics. So Bible wants this out so it can activate who it needs to activate. It's already in you. You just been sleeping, so we wake up to the facts and that consciousness, all right, and then we could tap in, all right. Now, some of Bob is saying some of us are sleeping and some of us are dead, or most of them, all right. So 161, you had enough insights, inner vision, intelligence, or some of those 27 telling you inside, wake up, time has come. Pa Munza, the one that has incarnated. So a lot of us have an urgency. We know that we're supposed to be working on something. All right. Baba said that's also your ancestors on the other realm. That's letting you know that time has come. All right. Our activator is here. All right. Talking about Baba Yanun. No other person pretending. All right. That he has incarnated. And a lot of us, we sound deep. All right. We could write books, make classes. I could read books. I could share information. And that's very important that we do that. But if you notice, we're not saying anything new that he hasn't said. Moment we think that we are, it's like, I didn't hear Baba say it, but it's like, wow, I realized he did say it because it's in the subconscious. All right. But he's already said it, especially if you're already exposed. Sometimes I read a scroll and I don't remember that I read it, but it's still in my subconscious and I access it when I need to. That's how information can be. All right. So 162, you heard my voice and knew that the warner knew that it is the warner. You heard my voice and knew it was the warner. So you are escaping the ignorance of sleep, the spell of sleep or ignorance. All right. You're escaping the spell of ignorance and sleep. Pa Nawam. 163. By way of Wunuwap, our way of life, you are facing the facts the world over. All right. A lot of the times it's hard to face the facts because sometimes certain facts are uncomfortable. But we've been raised and groomed to accept the facts. And Baba explains that's why we went through certain schools, because certain things can be shocking. All right. And then you would just reject it. So Baba had to take us through step by step, because you don't just take away someone's delusions. That could be very shocking. You explain it away. You explain it away. All right. If you know any sleepwalker, you don't just shake them awake, because that's not good for them. You lead them back to where they started their sleepwalking. All right. And then you let them wake up in that. And like, look, you're sleepwalking. All right. They warn you not to do that. So same thing, Baba has taken us. And it's delusional to think we're not still under delusions. All right. Because Baba's still here. All right. And we're still walking out of this spell. And a lot of us who say we know, we're going to walk people off a cliff because we sleepwalking. All right. And saying we know. And I don't claim that I know everything that Baba has shared. There's things I'm like confirming. And I'm so grateful to share those confirmations. And there's various parts, because a lot of us get activated in different ways. So there's other people who've taken time to confirm this. And in their tone, sometimes they could explain something. I'm grateful for them taking the time to do that. And if we all play our part, everything gets done so that the minds of us can be sparked and the race can be activated again, because we're sleeping deities. All right. So we have to wake ourselves up and each other towards our own divinity. And Baba is known as the activator. Right. He activated, or the opener. All right. To open the way that he hasn't asked us to do what he hasn't done. All right. Being from us. So 164, the dead follow the dead and the living follow those who are alive. 165, you are alive. Use your mind. 166, you no longer seek to be unrealistic. Your idols are of your own. Your models are of your own. 167, Your idea of worship is in your own image. All right? Because Baba stands here to remind you of your own divinity. That's why when somebody thanks me for something I'm doing, I thank us all. All right? And I'm so grateful when other people are doing what they need to do, because it's a reminder for me to do what I need to do. Because we're raising the overall vibration. All right? So this is a reminder of this. All right? As Baba has done, everything that he has done has been for what's best for us as a collective. All right? Even at his own personal expense. But his whole personal expense, he's part of the all collective. So he still benefits as the all. All right? And that's where our goal is, to get back to that. And it's so hard because a lot of us, so many times, the moment we think that we're making it about this, it becomes about our own sensations and our own ego. And we get trapped right back in this again. All right, so how do we do this? And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of ashuk, a lot of reality, a lot of uncomfortable conversations that we have to have. And it's like sometimes we have to realize it's us that's the problem. All right, so the dead follow the dead, and the living follow those who are alive. You are alive, use your mind. 166. You no longer seek to be unrealistic. Your idols are of your own, your models of your own. Your idea of worship is in your own image. Your morals are guided by our own holy scripture. This Patarak the way, revealed to you and for you. All right. So now somebody else telling you what's right or wrong based on their opinions. That's their religion. That's beautiful to them. But our morals and guidance is based on the holy scripture called Patarak. And Patarak puts us in touch with Panadaru. And Panadaru is natural nature. So we let natural nature tell us what's right and wrong. All right. 169. You gave up impractical, out of reach goals laid out for Caucasoids, not of your race. Things you can accomplish as an Afafre. All right, so we have realistic goals based on natural nature. All right, not impractical goals. That's based for someone else control that their extraterrestrials gave them to control them. All right. 170. They created false hopes, and you have a real way of life, a culture. 171. You have come from the best and the richest part of this Kawaktaha planet Earth, Africa, as an African. 172. You were misplaced, so it seems you were nothing and no one until Wunua found you asleep and woke you to what and who you really are as the gods of all other Salalu races. All right. So I understand why so many of us are ego tripping, because Bobby explains that that's how it works sometimes with the pendulum. It goes from one extreme to the other extreme until it goes back to center. So you went from an extreme to thinking that you're nobody, you were nothing. You woke up to how great you are. Now you're going to the other extreme. All right. Now you come back down to reality. Now we can get real work done. That's what Baba has said. All right. So you suppress these people. They found they're the gods of the earth, of all other races, not just the earth, but beyond. Now they going to the other extreme to where they almost like devils, right? And then they go back down because they working out that trauma. That's a trauma response too. All right. So that pendulum swinging both ways, and you want to get back center. 173. No more mental frustration and physical depression. You are owners of this Kawak planet and should enjoy the best things it offers you. 174. All you need to do is accept Wu Nuwap as Nuwapu Nuwapian, speak Nuwapi or Nuwapic, and live by Patarak. That is your reality. 175. Use your own powers. Fear no one and nothing. Protect your own or protect our own. Forgive none who hurt us and forget nothing they did to us. It's our turn to rule. $176. We will not forget. We will not forget. 177. We will not forgive. 178. That is the way of nature. That is our way. 179. No more poor and miserable conditions for our race that affect our lives and families. No more begging of others. We do for self and kind. And this means from the year 2000 AD, we as a Salau race must learn to use our own powers and resources to solve our own problems and stop looking to other races and their spirits to save our race, the Negroids. Seeking their apparitions they placed in our mind's eye for 6,000 years. Their ghosts, holy or unholy, phantoms, spooks, and specters, their dead spirit beings, their dead spirit beings, six ether, they will not and cannot help you. You have your own, seek your own. All right. So it talks about, I want to go back to what does that mean? We will not forgive and we will not forget. All right. Because it's our turn to rule. They had so many opportunities. I'm talking about these other races, specifically the Kakasu. They had the opportunity to do right and they didn't. So now it's their fate. And we leave them to suffer their fate. All right. We don't need to go and fight them. We don't need to do all we need to do is withhold our energy and put it towards what we need to be doing with ourselves. All right. And it's like in their own books, they said they wouldn't be able to see the face of God. We realize that we are the face of God. All right. So we remove our presence to place it elsewhere. That's torture in itself because they've been feeding off of us. All right. And we take our powers and stop begging others to help us, and we help ourselves. All right. So that's all we need to do. You have your own, seek your own. 187. Our spirit beings are already amongst us and have been all the time. You just rejected them for the Kakasu, the Caucasoids, the Arabu, or the Arabs, spook gods and the ghosts. Nuwapu is plural beings. Wunupu, Asanupu, and Nabanupu, males and females. Not their God. In fact, God is a German, Guts or Goita. That means a good ghost or a Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. It's still a ghosthood. What is good ghost for them, we see as evil. They go to church and pray to this good God, then go out and kill other races. That's their good God or their Holy Ghost or their God. 192. So they use the word good or God, they use the word God to hide their evil actions world over. Now he is in other languages as Yahuwah or Yahweh or Jah or Elohim, El Shaddai, Eliun El, Rab, Allah, Allahat, Anu, Elul, Al, God, Lord, Christ, Messiah, and angels. And the list goes on. You name it and they call it that. It's a ghosthood. They put them inside your mind over the years, and now you can project them out and think they are real. 196. Now it's time to make real contact with your real relatives linked to your ancestors, linked to Panadaru, without any interference from their evil six ether specters, or your own evil relatives, or who they exchange their DNA with during their lifetimes, that over 27 by far. All right. So not just your 27 or your 30, who you interchange genetics with and who they interchange genetics with. All right. Especially now, like sex is very all right nowadays. Anybody could do anything with anybody. That's all by plan. All right. Because it's a time of waking up and you can have all these influences. So you must learn to reach the good without any interference by any beings. That's why this group, I'm telling you, I created this group a few years ago. There's a lot of people I never knew a few years ago. This group still created for the same reason that we can't, because I recognize Baba's teachings and I recognize even inside and outside the organization, the abuse, misuse, and twisting of our information to hurt others and control other people. All right. And so this is just created so we can read the scrolls to make sure everyone's reading the scrolls. Now, where your genetics take you, that's up to where your genetics take you. All right. Hopefully, after I close this, you're still inspired to continue to read the scrolls without any interference, even interference from myself. All right. Whoever interference. All right. So you learn to get back to your own divinity. All right. So you must learn to reach the good without any interference by any beings. 199. And to know when you are projecting images from your own subconscious mind through your mind's eye and your imagination is at work because of the fictions, myths, and legends. Got to get real with yourself. All right. So Bible says you got to know when you're doing it. What does that mean? It means that you do that from time to time. All right. Some of us more than others. So you have to know when you're doing that. When is this a reality that you're facing? When is it your own stuff that you're projecting out? All right. Only Wu Nuwap will put you on the right track. All existing beings exist in the same state if they relate to each other. It goes back to the dimensions. When we relate to each other, it lets you know that we're in that same state. That's why Baba always talked about you had to move yourself off the radar. Baba keeps saying we're on the menu because we're still lusting. So they lust off of our lust. They greed off of our greed. They ego trip off of our own ego. All right. I'm talking about these beings. All right. So all existing beings exist in the same state if they relate to each other. So Baba says the only thing you need to do really is to remove yourself off their radar. And you have to get back to your own culture, and that's what Patarak is there, to remove us off the radar. All right. Of other people's hells, because people are in their hell and they're pulling you and we're pulling each other into various hells. So that's why we take time each day to chant. That's the purpose of us fasting. All right. All these intakes, which is unnatural. Because even the water, all right, that I'm drinking, and everything is affected, So that's why we take time to clean up. All right. Baba says, like being in a garbage can, getting clean. All right. So you're constantly in a state of self-reflection. All right. So all existing beings exist in the same state if they relate to each other. All spirits vibrate on the same state and in the same space or a part of space. Space can exist without form because it has existence. Oh, it has money. Space can exist without form because it has existence. It is a such, can be without form as nothingness yet exists. Before hydrogen becomes something or a sum of a thing. So existence was before form, and material, be it atoms, cells, such as atoms. All right, atoms as in the people, right? And the being there was existence before material and sum. It has its own space, time, and continuance. And being, it could exist before material things as nothing. Material things would never have been. Material things would never have to have been. It was a choice by pre-material. All right. So pre-material exists and materializes, but pre-material doesn't have to materialize. There's pre-material that still hasn't materialized, but all materialization comes from that pre-material. So it lets you know that materializing doesn't have to be. It was a choice by the pre-material. All right, a form of consciousness without physical form. All right, and we can testify to this because sometimes we could be on a wavelength, and then I tap into something, and I call my brother or sister up, and then before I could even start talking, they start telling me about an idea I was just thinking about. All right, so we just tapped into a consciousness, and I don't have to say, remember I told you, because the reality is that that's a state of consciousness. All right, we tap into that consciousness. So a form of consciousness without physical form. But a state of consciousness doesn't have to be good or bad. All right. It's just another level of vibration so that we can relate to that. So whether we're relating down here to do horrible things to each other, or we can relate up here to do great things to move the race forward, it's all a vibration or a state. So a form of consciousness without physical form. 209. An eternal form in an eternal space and consciousness. Eternal, so meaning forever form and a forever space and consciousness. Now, there's certain things I tap into that's not really about me as my personality, which is only a few decades old, right? For that specific space and time. I could tap into the consciousness of eternal form, eternal space, eternal consciousness, but not if I limit it down to my ego. Once I limit it to my ego, I only go as far as my ego allows me. But my ego is in service to this eternal consciousness. All right, because even like materializing is based around the central idea, which becomes myself and my will to just exist in this form with my likes, dislikes, and how I relate in this form. But it's not limited to that. All right. And some people, this is as far as they go. And then for some, it's a world beyond. But you still go back to this state. And this state is not limited to personality. All right. 210. So there is no consciousness that exists as an eternal form of existence. There would be no physical material existence. So if there is no consciousness that exists as an eternal form of existence, there will be no physical material existence. All right. 211. So life does exist after physical death and can exist beyond physical makut time. So Akaku, Etherians or etheric beings, don't live by your time. So past, present, and future in the same time, the etheric existence. How do you know that? Because we only tell time by physical, based on movements and relationships. So for example, for Earth and for any place that how we tell time is based on relationships. My relationship to the sun is if I'm talking about Earth's relationship to the sun and how long it takes to go around, we measure the year. All right. So time, space, and material is logging the movements, and it's logging the relationships, and it's logging the matter. But when you deal with the realm of ether, it's before those movements. So it's before time, it's before matter. All right. So now you have, so past, present, and future is the same etheric existence. So now when you tap into the ethers, all right, or you're tapping into the constituent, the conduits that kind of put me together, what constructed me, right? So I'm materialized by the various material that my mom breathed in and put together from material that already pre-existed. There's a whole story about that. And even for myself, you're talking about a whole bloodline behind me. So what was my mother and father doing? What were they doing? All right. So I'm evidence of then in the past and then that's going to be. All right. And it's all happening now. All right. But in the physical sense, a lot of us, that's why that monkey, he was climbing the tree. He's trying to go to another realm by a physical tree. He's deceiving himself. All right. That's why he fell right back down, because he's in a wrong density, so to speak. When we go to the etherical, you're not just talking about how I'm appearing right now. You're talking about what led to this appearance. All right. So it's like I got my mother and my father behind me. That's in paintings. I got my spiritual father right behind me. All right. And I have a spiritual mother figure right there too. So yeah, I'm testifying, I'm giving this an example of the paintings, is that everything is leading to this form, this form that you see, right? Right. This physical form that you see, there's a whole story behind it. There's a mental story, there's a physical story, there's a whole production, and it's all taking place right now in the ethers. All right. So if you talk about my etherical presence, you can't limit it to this one body. All right. Because it takes me out of the space and time. Because I can't tell the story of the space and time without conducting everything that makes it. So now I'm in the realm of ethers. Right. So let's repeat that. So past, present, and future is the same, the etheric existence. All right. So now Noontet, as that girl who's sitting on the internet reading scrolls, I don't have to take credit for that either. I could just let it be. I witness it and I let it be. It's not my vision. It's a vision I tapped into and I was able to communicate. All right. So 214. And since etheric beings have their own space, they are not restricted to any one place at any one moment. 215. Not trapped by a place or person or thing. The moment I tell you that this is Noontet's idea, guess what? I've just trapped the idea. All right. Because I tapped into something that's much older than a few decades. All right. It's a whole production. And these elements, I'm made up of these very elements. And that's what our goal is. Our goal is to wake up these dormant elements that we've lost connection, because they're always communicating to us from the very waters that put our bodies together, from the very hydrogen molecules to the energy behind the hydrogen molecule. All right, you're in the realm of ethers. 216, as such, can be a place, a person, and even a thing, such as a statue, a person's body, or be trapped in place. 217, that is after a person dies, if she or he is not linked to their own etheric ancestors, they can be trapped and will experience a form of hell over and over. So the monkey who kept climbing the tree because they want to go to heaven, all right, without their etheric ancestors' guidance, because they had the way and it was by way of their etheric ancestors. All right. So that person has died without their link. All right. And now they're trapped. All right. In that reality of falling from that tree. And what happens, 218, to repeat the act of their death over and over at the exact same time in this physical space and time and material world. All right. So that's a trauma. They're going to have to keep falling over and over and over until they burn that out. And until if and when either they fade away or they can, I don't know, reincarnate and try again. All right. If they have enough energy to reincarnate. That's why Baba says to treat this like your last incarnation, because he said that we have 24 to 24,000 cycles to get it right. And I don't know if you have enough etheric potency to reincarnate again. So just treat this like your last incarnation. Do as much. Learn as much as you can. Don't take for granted. All right. So 218, to repeat the act of their death over and over at the exact same time in this physical space and time and material world. 219, those linked to their ancestors, akaku, etheric beings, cannot be trapped once they stop breathing. Can't trap me. because I'm not trapping myself. I practice. Not that I don't have an ego, I definitely do, but I'm aware of it. And I do my best to keep my ego in service, so that when it's time to move on, I'm not so trapped by my personality, my personal likes, and things like that, and how I like things, because I like things for this time period. It suits for what I need to do. And when it's time to move on, I'm even going to outgrow this personality. So those who are linked to the ancestors, the Etherians, I don't say, oh, it's all about me, because I don't want to trap myself, nor do I want to trap anyone else. So 220, their etheric relatives linked to them come for them, being attracted by their etheric cord, opened by chanting, praying, and rituals. All right, so life itself is a ritual. And you'll realize that what you're doing, you're creating you're creating an etheric, what is it called? Blueprint. It's not blueprint. I don't like that word, but you're creating a record. Yeah, maybe that's the best way I can say. And by creating this record, all right, that becomes that code when you even transition to the other state. So whatever you were doing, so if you were creating some type of health for yourself, you end up repeating that. When you create an etheric link, you've already opened that door for the ethers. All right. So it's much easier for you to rise up because you already started here. You started that by your chants and prayers and rituals, because that's what the chants and prayers and rituals are for, is to remind you about your etheric link. All right. So this cannot change or be changed because it is nothingness. All right. So you so attached to things that change. I change every day. Depending on what I eat, I look different. Depending on what I'm doing, I look different. All right. In a couple years, I'll look different. A few years, I'll look different. All right. So if I'm so attached to what changes, you just trap me. All right. If I attach to what does not change, can't trap me anymore. 222. Yet it can give birth and transform into something, as does ether, one to hydrogen, one to helium. All right. So if it wants to give birth again, it could come forward again. It could stay back. It could stay in the etherian realm. It could come back to the physical realm. All right. 223. It's done by emotions to movement or energy in motion, the unmovable moved. Once it becomes atomic energy, a new kind of existence. So it facilitates movement, as does ghost as gas, or ether in all material things. All right, so even for me to move, it's a certain potency that's needed to maneuver material things from one to another. All right, so you're looking at etheric movement, but a lot of us are still just stuck on the physical, the material things. But it's not about the material things, it's about the energy behind the material things. All right, in different states of ether. And some of us are just attracted to the luster, even within ourselves. So we tend to what's that word called? We objectify our own selves. So I'm objectifying myself when I keep making it about me, because I'm making it about my own lust of my likes, my dislikes, my personality. That's all part of the luster. All right. But it's not about the luster, it's about the energy behind the luster. Because even like a sun, you see the radiance from the sun radiating, but the center of the sun is really dark. All right. But a lot of us will never get past that because we'll always be stuck on the luster. And even like, oh, look at what I did. Remember, like, I had to keep reminding you. And it's like, and then I ask myself, well, how come no one sees me for me? And it's like, because you don't even see yourself for who you really are either. So 224. So it facilitates movement, as does ghost, as gas, or ether, and all material things. and in that state can attract germs to form cells as organisms to become physical or incarnate into the physical form from the etheric form. All right, so your first form was etheric. No matter what type of ether you had, if you had a lower ether or 6 ether, all right, or whether you have a more complete ether, 9 ether, all right, you can attract more to you, all right. So you can attract your potency, and then you'll act out that nature. But really, it's about that form behind it. So because actual space itself cannot move, yet detects any movement within space, first as vibration, then shadow figures, then spirits forms, then spirit form you see as ghost. 227. A finite universe of space is also expanse and can internally expand to become universe finite, out of infinite existence, out of exist as. So from my infinite form, I give birth to my finite form. This right here that's interacting, that you're looking through the screen, this will be my finite form because I was given birth by a physical mother, all right? And it attracted the right bacteria to put my whole being together, the germs and everything. I germinated. And then I'm going to eventually expire. So that's my finite universe, all right? And it goes back to my infinite. But for some of us, we'll be trapped in a very finite or finite reality. And I don't want to be trapped here because there's so many things about this reality that I don't particularly like. So it's like, why would I want to be trapped in something? I want to be free, to be more than just this one experience. All right. So it's more than just the personality, because this personality is a wonderful personality that was created for this moment of time to do a certain work at this time, 2024, during the moon cycle, finishing, helping to usher in the sun cycle. I have the perfect personality for whatever job I have. All right. Time keeps going and other personalities are coming to do it's fixed for what it needs to do. You have finite moments, but it's all coming from a finite or infinite, Hasmini, an infinite reality. The infinite reality is that space really doesn't move. All right. So the all is, I don't know why I said that, one moment. 228. This is all everything and nothing, and think that exists within it. True space is new, or noon, wu noon tat, as anun. Space is also a way of being absolute, and the positive represents the material perfection of our tomb of beings and things of nature as Natharu. All right, so you have the perfection of light. All right, Atum, that would be like the high noon, looks like this. That's Atum. Then you have our moon. You have our, let me just draw it. Our moon, Atum, Atum. All right. So you see the different things going on. Right here, you see it's setting. All right. This is high noon, like the sun will be very bright. All right. Over here, the sun is just starting to rise. And it's different appropriate personalities that are good for different things. All right. This is the time to be active and fun. This is the time to be more relaxed. This is the time to be settling down. This is the time to be rising up. So noon, the person that you know as born in, whatever I was born, existing right now to teach, to talk about it. I'm not saying teach, just to share our story. I just have the good personality for this moment in time, whatever the moment is, wherever I come in this finite stage. And guess what? I can change my hat because what's appropriate in the next moment might be different. So this finite job. But the reality is that you're talking about the movements of nature. No matter where you are, no matter where you are, that's the movements of nature. So you're not linked to this little tiny little personality, wherever it is, whatever your job is. Because what's appropriate today is not necessarily going to be appropriate in 200 years. And now you want to limit everything for nature to be in this time that is not going to be appropriate. What we're doing now today at this moment is not going to be appropriate in about 100 years. So now you just faded yourself out of what is that word called? Relevance. You're not relevant anymore, but you'll always be relevant in the ethers if you could stick to the ethers, the etheric. That's where your relevance is, and it's not about my personality. All right. So space is also a way of being absolute in the positive, represents the material perfection, atum, of beings and things in nature of Nataru. Absolute space, all right, atum, I'm even hearing that's where things are being born. All right. That's the perfect conditions to manifest certain things forward. So absolute space is positive before negative existed. Out of Qatar Makwanmat's multiverse is born each Wahoo Makwan universe, movements of the unmovable. Its supreme balancement, blackness. Blackness is the only perfect being, atum and absolute state. Kamen black is in fact not a color. It is a condition, a state of nature. All right. So your most divine state is not going to be a true light. A true light is one of the movements. All right. There's different lights at different times. But that blackness, because it's movement, when you say light, you're already talking about vibration. When you're talking about vibration, you're talking about chaos. When you're talking about vibration, you're talking about personality again. All right. So we're going back to the realm of blackness. So Hamam, black is in fact not a color. It is a condition, a state of nature. All colors are born out of blackness. All right. I definitely was called forth for whatever it is I needed to do out of blackness, whatever nature needed to do. All right. And there's many containers. All right. All these various containers of all these different natures. And that's all being birthed out of blackness. Lawan, color, is an adjective that is agitate blackness to become a mode of blackness, and agitating a thing or hydrogen to helium to so by friction the sun is born, atum. All right. So now he's talking about the birth of lights. Why? Through agitation, friction. You're agitating the darkness, creating friction. You start to create explosions. All right, or light. All right, heat. So it's the secret, and its secret is hidden in its nature as energy hydrogen 1 to become helium 2. The secret of creation is hidden in the act, the hidden nature, Amun. Amun is spent energies of sound and thoughts. Anun, tutum, atum, to atun, to Amun. So come light's friction, chaos, matter out of supreme balancement, blackness. Where physical light is absent, so evil is absent. For lights, white light is evil. That's Baba's words, not me. White is evil. All right. I remember somebody breaking down evil, just breaking. Because we read, in our language, you read from left to right, right to left. And then you could just turn evil and read it the other way. It just means to live, Live. And we all have our likes, dislikes, people politics. All right. It gives birth to war, to attraction, repulsion. All right. And what's good for you is not necessarily good for me. All right. And blackness, it just is. There's no up, down, left, right, my side, your side. There's none of that. All right. So where physical light is absent, so evil is absent. For light, white light is evil. Light hides inside of darkness, as all colors hide inside black, until friction brings out a spark of evil light. All this is recorded in your mind's eye. You were there, which is here, until it all happened to happen. So you listened from darkness when the Karabu or the cherubim was asked, "Let there be lights." And he saw it was a good ghost. And that concludes our scroll. All right. So it's a lot to take in with the mind's eye. Feel free to unmute. What do you take from it and why?
Rob doesn't want to hear me.
Oh, tour. All right.
I can even say what I took in it was quite a lot because I've read it quite a few times. But I also listened on YouTube when the 24 elders used to actually go over the mind's eye, you
Mm,
know. But this was definitely more needed. Definitely a lot of things that was re-awareness, you know. One of the things that does stand out to me, there's a lot that stand out to me, and I won't be able to actually touch on all of them. So I'll touch on one of them is actually the chanting in the mantra. You're dealing that with the mind's eye too, and how many studies have also shown that when chanting, it actually does help with your physiological effects of your body, such as reduction of the limbic system, which is the part of the brain that's dealing with emotional control, anxiety, stress, fear, nervousness, worriness. And then how when constantly chanting, or they call it M&M, mantra meditation, where you're constantly chanting to the point you get into a meditative state, and how the chanting also actually stimulates all your cells to actually vibrate and the same resonancy and frequency, actually raising your vibration from a lower state of existence, and is all based on the intentions and the direction of where your mind's eye is actually telling them to go. So if your mind is actually focused on negativity and you chanting, you're going to actually attune yourself into that plane of negative existence, as to where you could do the same when you're looking to stimulate good health, and which just everything with that mind's eye too, and how it is actually building upon the the very thing that we think to be real is actually really created in the mind, because the mind is really just fertile ground. It's always fertile, and no matter what you put in it, it's going to just simply return. It don't
mm,
matter if it's good or if it's bad. If you plant a poison ivy seed, you're going to get poison ivy out of it. If you plant an apple seed, you're going to get apples out of it. And that's very important to note, because we're working with fasting. And with fasting, I fast away from I don't even watch TV. I don't even have a TV. But I fast away from things like that, as well as advertisements, because that's also still a form of digestion
mm,
into the mind. We're taking that in, and the mind is not actually knowing if it's real or if it's not. It goes back to playing tricks on people's mind. But when we take in whatever it is that we are visually seeing, the mind is just going to return it. So if you're watching a movie, you enjoy it, and then suddenly it shows a very negative scene of someone might getting shot or their head getting chopped off, and you take that in your mind's eye, guess what it does? It actually feeds on that very image, especially if it can cause a shock to the system. you'll remember that image more than all the other images you probably seen in the advertisement or in the movie. And so this is just a further build that I'm actually getting listening to the Mind's Eye Scroll from the very Mind Scroll that Baba had actually put out back in the 90s and the 80s, and he put it out twice because he said it inspired so many people to be better. And this is actually touching on more dimensions dealing with the mind. And that's just a few things that I get from the Mind Scroll. However, I definitely want to pave way for other people to actually share their thoughts as well.
Tower hat for sharing that. Um, that makes me want to be a lot more mindful of where I dwell and what dimensions I'm bringing forth into my reality. So, yeah, Tower hat. Um, Anybody else who like to just comment on the scroll? Feel free. And if you just don't feel pressured, if you really don't have anything to comment, or you just want to digest what you just heard, that's okay too. But feel free to unmute if you want to. All right. And so what's new? Like, how can, um, let's see, how do I want to phrase this question? What, in what ways does this scroll add or make you think differently about anything in particularly? Like, what are you reconsidering? If you feel free to share that, anybody.
One of the things that actually has me thinking differently about is the word that you use, sensationalism, and how you do things to actually get that sensation out of it. And that is a very overall like term. It's never really just simply directed because that sensationalism could be the love to have a money in your hand or even some food that you may have a hard time getting away from, or even just that experience of wanting to watch a show over and over because it's sparking that sensationalism in the mind, but it's actually still keeping your etheric being as well as the mind cage as like a prison to that space and time. So you can experience that over and over when the mind has so much dimensions to it that instead of looking beyond that level of sensationalism and looking to like, well, what level of energy is it actually putting into your body? We use that example like, let's say someone's addicted to cheese. Now, I may not be
Mm.
addicted to cheese, I'm not, but let's say someone is, right? And they're constantly eating that because they want to really experience that sensation over and over. And you are actually constantly keeping yourself at a very low vibrational frequency, as well as also trapping your mind, body, spirit, etheric energy on a very low stages of existence because you're only doing it because you want the sensation from it. So then the question now would be, well, who's really the slave? Is it you or is it the food? Are you a slave to actually just the sensation of of absorbing and digesting that food? Does that make sense?
It does. It reminds me of
Yeah.
even like how food people do that to each other. So it's like we
Mm,
get addicted to feeling a certain way. And we're no longer about the facts. We're chasing that feeling. And
mm-hmm,
how people have exploited our information for so long. They did it because of the feelings. Um, because you start to create you start to crave whatever it is, hope, whatever it is that they give that you're getting from that hope or whatever that you're looking for. That's
mm-hmm,
that sensation that you're looking for. And that's how they have these six etheric forces have made their lives a reality to us. They created a whole story in our minds, and we have these attachments to, and that's why we're having a hard time letting it go. We're having a
mm,
hard time letting our oppression go. It all goes back to the sensations.
yeah. And that's was something that really stuck out of my head. So being able to fully understand, like getting the full understanding of how the mind functions and how it works with the brain and the sensation of it, be able to actually become better at actually walking people through that school of desire and lust and obtainment and greed and reputation and being seen. All that stuff actually still links a person into that sensationalism. They like that feeling of being seen, of being watched, of being followed, feeling like they're always on that high horse. It really is their own sensations that they have become a slave to. And it really will actually change your perspective on history, period. Just from reading that mind scroll and actually digesting it and then looking back on just life itself. Kings and queens, who's really the one addicted to sensation? The person on the throne, addicted to people looking at them. You know what I'm saying? It really would change your view on it. A boss, a manager, everywhere you go, right on down to just the simple things that we actually do in life. And so that's something that needs to be noted, especially when you're dealing with people that tend to give an impression like they're some kind of guru psychic. You can sit back and watch if they really are. Not if your mind is actually trapped to the physical things of this world. You say you want to mate with someone because how he or she physically look, but then you call yourself a psychic. To even get to that state of psychicness, you need to actually transcend just that physical dimensions to where now you're actually working on a plane of energy, movement, and how things are manifesting. That's what psychics so-called do, right? They actually figure out how things are actually manifesting in an energy format and are able to see it before it actually comes into the physical realm of existence, which is a lower plane of movement, and they could tell you what's about to happen. But if you see them being so addicted, I'm talking about just straight out addicted to so many physical things, then you start to question, well, how can you be that really of a psychic? Your mind hasn't even gotten past that point.
Right, right.
Yeah,
hmm And it's like unnecessary uses of energy. So
yeah,
it's like a lot of us are restless, and because as Bobby explained, that whole religion leaves you feeling unfulfilled, and you end up wanting to
mm,
do busy work. But it's like a lot of the time, when you are in tune of nature running its course, a lot of times you can more sit in stillness, and that's one of the realms of taking that time to relax each day. Very important. The time, uh, the rest between the tick and the tock. A lot of us are
mm,
are lost in just a chaotic light, and we lose track.
mm,
We lose touch with the darkness, and and it's that's where all the lights are coming from. It's coming from the darkness.
mm,
So a lot of times that light it becomes self-sabotaging in the sense that when you lose touch with the darkness, you forget why you was even birthed in the first place. Then you start to want to consume the other lights, rather than
mm,
plugging straight into the darkness. And that's where the addiction comes from. And it's so easy. So that's why Baba has given us so much rituals, uh, so that we could already be on that path of remembering the ethers. Because there's
mm,
so much has been put here to trap us, from
yeah,
what we like, what we don't like, who we don't like, our angle of how I see things, and wanting to convert others to seeing things my way rather than just sharing a fact.
mm,
And all that is all the trappings of those lights, should I say. Yeah.
So, that's just, I'm really thankful we went over that part of that, and that is actually just very true. Now, inside the part of that, you mentioned something about said about the white light being evil, correct?
Sure. That's what Bible wrote. Mm-hmm. You want me to read that one again? Where it says that?
If you don't mind, can you read that
Yeah.
verse?
Yeah. It's towards the end of the scroll. So it says, I'll read I'll read right before it too. Verse 238. So come light friction, chaos, matter out of supreme balancement, blackness. 239. Where physical light is absent, so evil is absent. For light, white light is evil. All right. Even the prism scroll, we read that here. I happen to have the prism scroll. This is a great scroll to go hand in hand with this scroll. These go
Mm,
hand in hand because the nature of light is to divide. Because from white light, you end up giving birth to the rainbow because you have different frequencies.
mm,
So you have the whole color spectrum. So that is the nature of light. And then I actually purchased this on the internet. But the light isn't here good, but it's a prism. I just bought it just in case
mm-hmm,
I needed to show it. And then you just see how white light can fracture, and then you'll get a nice rainbow, on the wall. So, um,
mm-hmm,
but in blackness, there's no dividing, there's no shadow beings, because there's no light beings. It's all supreme darkness. There's no perspective, there's no your way, my way. There's only the way. And
mm-hmm.
there's no movement in that. It just is. So yeah. Anybody else
Yeah.
have anything to say? We'll wrap up in a few minutes. Nanette, Jerry, you wanted to say something else?
No, I definitely want to pave way for others to speak because, of course, there's a lot to build on that part of that.
Sure. All right. Anybody else? All right. Um, so let me ask somebody, you don't even have to explain, did you like the scroll or did you dislike the scroll? All right. So just take time to digest it. I see a lot of quiet people, and that's okay. I don't like to make anyone feel pressured. So just take time to digest it. Read the scroll also on your own. All
Mm,
right. And just introspect. That's the best thing. And not everybody has to be outwardly outspoken. And think about how you could apply it in your own life. And
mm-hmm,
yeah, so I appreciate everyone working on themselves to be the best versions of yourself because we're making it easier for each other.
mm-hmm.
And with that being stated, if there's nothing else for anyone else to say, we could wrap up.
Um, Rahubat, Mr.
Rahul
Um,
Mata.
I enjoyed the scroll. I was in and out listening because I was busy, but what triggered a thought while you were talking about the scroll and reading the scroll was an experience I had. I actually might sound a bit weird, but witnessed a walk-in. So it was, I'll describe it as I was actually living with someone at the time and sharing a room. And what happened was the person was having nightmares. And I didn't understand it would happen at a certain time every night. And So on this particular night, I was beside him, and I was like half asleep, half awake, I can say, and I saw all I can say it was like light. So it wasn't very colorful, but it was like a mist, and it walked through the closed door, and it went right inside of this person. And I was in a bit of a shock because I was witnessing it, and I think that the entity noticed that I could see it, and the person it went into started to laugh, and the person was still asleep, but he was laughing, and I was petrified. And then the thing came out of the man and tried to come into me, and that's when the shock of all of that, I woke up. And then I woke up the person next to me, and I said, I've realized why you're getting your nightmares every night. It's actually a walk-in, and I've just witnessed it walk into you. So I didn't know how to deal with this. So, and the person was a Christian, so they're thinking I'm a bit wappy, but they knew something was going on with them, because while the person was asleep, he was getting attacked, and he was coming at me with the most awful things out of his mouth. Really, really, like really violent things he was saying he was going to do, and he was calling people's names. So in the morning, I would say to him, you said this and you said that. And I said, are these people in your life? And he says, yes. The names you're telling me, I'm saying in my dream, yes, these are my, you say, my relatives. And I said, well, you've got some grievance with them, because while you're sleeping, you're saying this and that. And he says, yes, he has got grievances. So I think what it was, that the entity knew he was on a low vibration with these negative thoughts, and was using that to enter him. So I said to him, you have to make peace with your relatives and bring peace and love into the situation, or you're going to always have these entities, you're going to be an open book to these entities to use you, because you're on a low vibration, you're not happy, you're not at peace with it. And he refused to make peace. And every night he would have these episodes, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember going back to my home, and you go on YouTube and you scan through certain things what Baba's talks about. And Baba, I went home and I went on YouTube, and for some reason I found one of the recordings of Baba, and Baba was saying you can't be amongst people who have walk-ins, because these walk-ins will not stop until they start entering into you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shocked me. It's like Baba was warning me, and I thought, I can't stay around him, because he won't change. He's not listening. And these things, it's that every night. I could honestly, one night we set up and waited for this thing, because it was like 2:30 every night it would come, just before 3. It was crazy. I said, just sit up and wait, that it can't enter you tonight. It was crazy, but yeah, I actually witnessed it. It was something what would enter him day and night, shadow hour and in the daytime, because I could see the change of personality and voice. So yeah, the scroll brought me back to that experience. That you have to keep how can I say, with that experience, I said to myself, I have to be at peace with the people around me. I have to have vibrate on a high vibration of love and forgiveness, and so those things can't enter. And as we're taught, our rituals with our chanting and our prayers, that's our protection, that they can't come close to us. So yeah, that's what the scroll brought back for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me, if I'm
Mm.
at succumb to that Zamonte, did that actually remind me of the Pontiac concentration? When Baba was actually saying how when you actually learn to really concentrate and center on your inner being, you were actually able to control not just your voices within you, but also the spirits around you that try to influence you. But of course, it's always in full totality because it comes with changing diet, environment, so that we can actually have a complete a complete sum of the changes that we're looking to achieve. Concentration, it does play a part in a role. It's so simple because it's not easy when we want to actually control the spirits that's trying to influence us. Because I'm myself, I'm a reserved male. I don't just let any and everyone in my space. Just like I don't just let any and everyone just have my phone number. Just me with all sorts of, jib jabber that's going on. Because of things like that that's going on. I'm really thankful you shared that story too. But the part of that concentration be good. Um, I do have a question. Did the male ever say that he was able to see anything himself or has some kind of awareness before things?
He was reluctant to even act like or acknowledge it. I think he was so embarrassed of what was happening to him, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to open up and come forth that it it that's what he's dealing with. I think he was just ashamed of the idea of something controlling him. So he would not
Mm,
acknowledge, he wouldn't, but I think once he says, well, I know it's true because of what you're saying and you're calling people's names that you don't know, and it's my family member. So I must be um, talking in my sleep or reacting the way you're saying I'm reacting. But this man was totally violent, really
mm,
violent in his threats, and it was terrible. And he confessed that one one day one night he found himself going inside his car, and he said the only reason he woke up is because the bunch of keys fell out of his hands. So he sleepwalked outside the house, opened the door, went to the car, and was trying to enter the car. So that's how strong these spirits had um under control. He's on.
mm.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
But he lies to cover up what's happening to him. He just opened up to me because I could see clearly. I saw it for myself, and he knows something's up, but he doesn't want to talk about it or be open about it.
Maybe
No.
something that will actually help him the more time is if you
Sorry?
actually YouTube. You able to hear me?
Yeah, your break. I think it's
You're
where I
breaking
am.
up, but yes.
Hold
You're
on.
breaking
Okay,
up.
it's doing that again. All right, what about now?
That's
Yeah, that's
better.
a bit better. Hmm.
Better? Okay. One of the things that will actually help him the most is if you actually well, I would think it would really help because Bob
We
touched
can't hear
on
you
this.
so well, just so you know.
Yeah,
You said what?
you.
You go in, you go out, you go in, and you go out.
Mm.
I just wanted to respond to her, but you're going in and going out. Um, so yeah, I remember in one of the scrolls, well, a few of the scrolls, Baba said to avoid angry people because Baba said that anger is the most debilitating because it's the most damaging to our nervous system. Our nervous system is also our seat of our willpower, as we learn from the nerve vitalizing breath. That's why we're meant to do it every day. Because stresses and all that weakens the nervous system. And that's where we get hijacked and these other entities. And also how Baba recommends to avoid people who are very angry because he says they are open conduits for walk-ins.
Okay. Okay. I remember that.
Mhm.
I just had to I just took my headphones off. Do I sound better?
I think you do sound better. You do.
Um,
You're clear.
yes,
You're clear.
Martha, if you look at the video titled The Secret by Baba, where he was speaking to a brother that had his eyes was open, and because his eyes was open, he didn't want to acknowledge it. And Baba was saying that you have to get rid of those bad habits. He said, because when your eyes is open and these beings know your eyes is open, they will actually make you a target. And the only way to get past that is you actually have to get into your spiritual practices and stop running from it.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That hits home. Yeah.
Especially when you said that entity tried to enter you. Um and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like uh it goes back to me it reminds me of something I had shared is that Baba told me to be personally to be mindful, and that's pretty much a warning to anybody. Be mindful of the company that I keep,
Yeah.
because it's like we start to affect each other's energetic field. And if a person is always depressed or whatever the case is, or always angry, you know, they start to tune or out, they start to impact your also energy. So we have all these psychic self-defense from our chanting that helps us, to our intakes that's helping us, certain things Baba told us to avoid. And then also, uh, certain company we should avoid too, because we have so many things that we're overcoming. And that's why I thank everyone. Every time you're working on yourself, you're making it better for all of us, because we do affect each other. So it's good when we're all working on ourselves. It's not a selfish thing to make yourself better. It's something that's beneficial to all of us.
Yeah. Now you said that, I remember a practice I used to do when I was around him. In in the daytime, if I realized his mood would change and he was coming across a bit disagreeable, I would start singing and just being playful and dancing and just being jolly to raise my vibration, and he wouldn't be able to come close to me. It's like I would repel him. He would stay, yeah, he wouldn't come close. And then he would like um go away. Then it's like entity would have left. Then he would come back and he would say sorry for whatever he was trying to do at the time to disturb my peace. And I realized, oh, if I keep in a happy state, that vibe, that entity can't come close to me. It was just weird. It was just weird to see or act out right in front of me. And I became very aware of what was happening to him, but I couldn't help. I just couldn't help him.
I'm happy you got yourself out that situation, because I can't imagine that singing and dancing would have been good in long term. That
No.
because after a while, knowing that you have to do that, it would just become very draining. And
Uh-huh.
then it would just how much of it, slowly but surely he's chipping away at your, you
Yeah.
know you're defensive, and you keep taking in that poison, eventually you'll come down to a level where you could be affected. So I'm very glad that you took yourself out that situation. You lived to learn from what you needed to learn from it. What did you need to learn from that situation? Why were you in that situation? And for us to move forward, and we have these cautionary tales for ourselves and to share with each other as we're moving from one state to another. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Just don't rush into relationships. You take your time, get to know the person on every level. Um, be very slow, be very patient. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because many of us tend to overlook the spiritual body of the person before we get in a relationship with them. We really overlook the energetic field, the magnetic field, as well as the magnetic fields and where they came from, their parents, or who they've been involved with. All this stuff actually gets involved in our matrix by the time we actually come in contact with them, especially if they're not people who know about cleaning up their energy fields and cleaning out their aura.
Wow. Now you said that the same person, he was married and he had one child, and he told me that when the child was growing up, she had mental issues, and they took her to a psychiatrist and everything, and a lot of a lot of bad things used to happen, and she's got a really bad temper. And I said, in the way he was portraying her and talking about her in depth, she came across as a narcissist. And I do believe one of the scrolls says that entities can come through people um, via sex, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
the entities can come through you, then from the sperm of the person, if it's a male, can then enter the woman and have a child. And everything just started to make sense how these spirits can manifest in the physical world via your children.
I would
And can you
actually,
imagine? Mm,
I would try to find that up for you because that wasn't an update as well, where Bob was actually teaching on how a person actually get a walk-in before they actually consummate or they end up having a sexual intercourse. And because the person got a walk-in, that child that is birth from there may look like the DNA of the male, have the nature of the baby and also have the nature of that spirit that walked into the person.
yeah.
And that's all they have. So that's what it's called a three-parent conception.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I heard a scroll. I know I heard a reading on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
You want to look into the gatekeepers. It was real that sister that was back in Georgia or years ago. Gatekeepers in
Bastet.
the Guardian, Bastet. It was
Mm-hmm.
actually in there where he was actually speaking on it.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're a
And in
bit.
that same reading,
Mm,
he was actually speaking on how beings will infiltrate you, especially if you're watching porn or if you're angry, and how do we get inside of you? And they could be drunk, they have sex, and have a child, and the child may not look nothing like the person or have nothing of the nature of the person because that child is actually of that being that walked into them, which is why we have our rituals of cleaning ourselves, and keeping a clean mind or engaging in that act with the one that you're with. But many people in the world don't know that.
what was Bastet on YouTube? Did she do a reading on YouTube?
She was the Bastet that he's talking about. She was the female pharaoh. Remember for a little while. Nefu.
Oh, no, I can't.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah, but
uh, mm,
she used to visit Baba, and she used to bring back messages and updates um
okay,
like over 10 years ago. And then she would I don't know what she is now, but yeah, that was her role. And she was a good teacher too. She was actually a really good teacher.
yeah. Yeah, I remember going on YouTube and this Zamaltat, she was doing a reading and it was about what the brother was just saying about how these spirits can walk in and have children and this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it probably was her. It probably was her. She
mm,
Hmm.
doesn't have too much on YouTube. She's very thin, right? Very thin,
yeah, she was slim.
brown skin. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that scroll what you're reading, it's it's like you need a a reread over and over and over again. There's so much in there, so it's really full with jewels. So yeah, it's something we have to pick apart. I just missed a lot of it um
Let's
tonight.
record it. We recorded it. So
Okay, that's good.
yeah, we're gonna share what we read tonight at 9 when we mute for the shadow, and then it will be 9 Eastern Standard Time, and then we just are gonna share it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And we read 2 scrolls today. We read chapter 5, which is the monkey in the tree, and we read also uh the mind's eye. So those 2 scrolls will be shared.
Okay. How was that? Jamal that.
So I appreciate everyone. I think this is a great space to wrap up, unless anybody else who hasn't spoken has something to say. If not, it's all right. Everything is recorded and it'll be shared, and we'll see each other for our next reading, based on maybe what's said in the chats, what's relevant. We'll share that next week, and the date will be disclosed as we get closer. So Ashok Moisar and Tower Hat to us all.
All six of them.
Yeah. Why do?
Wadu.